It's a very warm welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome you to MTG Red Zone. My name's Riley Knight. I'm joined by Raphael Levy. First time this morning that we've found ourselves in the booth. And it's great to have your company here at GP Madrid. The format is, of course, Team Trios. This is a triple constructed format where each player is playing a different constructed deck. We've got Standard, Legacy, and Modern, of course. Now, of course, Raph, we are heading closer and closer towards the cut towards the top four. We have a cut to top four here rather than a top eight. And the way that the numbers are shaking out, my understanding is that this one's going to be a little bit different to usual because we've had a lot of draws.
So yeah, it looks like X2 and 1, that means 2 losses and a draw, is probably making it to top 4. So that leaves a little more room to maneuver for teams that have already lost two rounds.
So usually, typically, if you've, if you're starting to pick up a third non-win, really, whether it's a draw or a loss, essentially you can consider yourself out of finals sort of contention here. Things are a little bit different here in GP Madrid. We have had an unusually high number of draws. I think players, is this true, Raph? Players tend to just play a little slower when they're in team events.
It's because during the games, you sometimes ask for a little bit of assistance from your teammates, and that takes a couple of seconds, but you add a few seconds from one player, a few seconds from another player, and then that adds up to like a few minutes, and then that gets into extra time.
Yeah, so often
extra turn. Sorry.
We often do see a couple of unintentional draws here and there. I know that many players have sort of suffered from that throughout the tournament, and the fact that those points are kind of just falling into nothingness means that we are going to have a funny kind of cut with the way that the points are going to break for the top four. Now, do understand that there were some brief technical issues at the end of the last round. We do apologise for them. We're doing our best to work our way through them, and of course, we do have a final result to bring you from the matches you were watching previous, in which Michael Bonda did manage to win the final game there against Max Pritch, and so Bonda and the rest of his team improve their record. Whereas Pritch, playing his approach to the second Sun deck along with his teammates there, are going to have to dig deep if they want to continue to find success in this tournament. Now, Raph, we're going to head down to the feature match area. The players are getting ready, shuffling up, and being prepared for this next stage of the tournament. But given that we're only really a few rounds away from this cut to top four, the pressure really sort of heats up here because many of these players are basically just one loss away from completely falling out of contention here.
Yeah, it's single elimination from here on for the teams at X and 2. I think the match we're going to see, both teams are at X and 2. So a loss would mean, well, elimination from top 4, not from the tournament, but just from the trophy contention.
From trophy contention, that's right. Because of course, I mean, the prize payouts go pretty deep down into the teams that have made it into day 2. So there's going to be plenty of cash flying around for those teams that are still having decent records at the end of the day. But of course, we're only interested in those top 4 teams when it comes to dispensing trophies. Raph, at the end of yesterday, if we want to sort of summarise what our lessons were for day 1. We saw a lot of blue-black in Standard, whether it was control, whether it was mid-range. The Scarab God really is truly the king of the format right now, and you're going to have to come ready to beat the Scarab God in Standard. I know you've been stalking around the tables throughout this morning. What's caught your eye from Standard perspective on the top tables?
So I've seen a few Guts Ferrer's gift.
Oh, really?
Deck. Yeah, at table number 2. I think there were only 1 loss and 1 draw, or just 1 draw. And it was doing fairly well, and the team that had that as a standard deck won as well. So they might be playing on table 1 right now.
Okay, so Godfarer's gift also up in the mix there like that. And maybe we're going to see some more spice out of Standard right here and right now. It's time to head down to the feature match area for our next round here at GP Madrid. Hello, my friends, and welcome to continued coverage of GP Madrid. You're in the booth with me. My name's Riley Knight, and I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, the French Hall of Famer. It is Raphael Levy. And I tell you what, speaking of Hall of Famers, well, a lot of these players are going to be in that conversation throughout their careers because we've got some of the biggest names in the building. Raf, look at this. Mengucci, Calcano, Dominguez on one side, Hendricks, Flock, and Strasky. This is an all-star lineup.
Yeah, on the left side you have the Italian, the American, and the Spanish pros. And on the right side, the Dutch and Czech and Slovak pros.
Someone better call NASA because the stars are all out tonight. These guys here, we talked about the role that Blue Black plays in Standard at the moment, and Andrea Mengucci has got a little bit of a different twist on the archetype because he's playing Grixis.
Yeah, he decided to go for some more more red removal spells.
Mm-hmm.
And shape of Harness Lightning, one Abrade main deck,
A couple of magma sprays as well, finding
Magma
their way into his
Sprays,
deck.
and Chandra.
Yeah. Yeah, so some very powerful cards indeed, but still built around this classic shell of riding the Scarab God to victory. Thomas Hendricks, on the other hand, he's playing a essentially green-red monsters deck. We've got cards like Carnage Tyrant. We've got cards like Merfolk Brancher Walker and Jade Light Ranger. Green cards that offer a little bit of value through all points in the game. And then some classic red all-stars, of course, Glory Bringer, Chandra Torch of Defiance, and excellent interactive options like Magma Spray, Struggle to Survive, and Abrade. So this deck has had a pretty quiet career so far, Raph. I think it's been overshadowed by mono red, but the value, the late game plan of things like sitting behind a Carnage Tyrant, drawing cards off a Jade Light Ranger. There's a lot to like in this deck.
What won this last standard GP in the US? Was it Red Green Monsters?
A Red Green Monsters deck, yeah, that lent pretty heavily on things like Rekindling Phoenix and what have you. I mean, of course, Rekindling Phoenix in the deck of Thomas Hendricks here as well. So this deck, you're right. You could be right in saying it's on the up and up.
And Andre is relying also on the energy mechanic with Virtuoso 4, Willow Virtuoso in his deck. So it's a little different from the blue-black control decks you'll see around.
Not quite a Grixis energy list here, as we see an Abrade from Thomas Hendricks target his own Earthshaker Kenra. He wants that in the bin, not in exile, and also, of course, to control Manguchi's life total a little bit more. Vraska's Contempt, one of the mainstays of this standard format here, Raph.
Yeah,
Such
one of your favorite cards, if I remember correctly.
It is indeed. There's not a good excuse to play any fewer than 4 if you're playing black. Tussles so well against all of the top-end threats in the format, from Hazoret to the Scarab God.
Chandra Torch of Defiance.
And we're going to follow
into
that up
Gonti.
with Gonti, Lord of Luxury. So the mana used from Chandra there. And 4 cards off the top here from Hendricks. Manguchi's going to get his pick of the bunch.
I don't think Thomas Hendricks is very happy with the beginning of this game.
No, hasn't quite gone to plan.
His Jet Light Ranger got cannered, and now his only possible play is to eternalize his Canara, unless he has more action in hand. But he kind of passed with six mana last turn. Yes, that's what we see here.
So it is going to be an Earthshaker Kenra here for Hendricks.
Attacking Chandra, putting it down to 1 canner.
Try to recoup some of that lost tempo here as Manguchi sort of pushes himself ahead here on the board at least. Still under siege his life total.
So I'm trying to understand to guess what's in Thomas's hand, because he hasn't been doing much so far.
Jade Light Ranger cast from the Gonti, Lord of Luxury here. Harness Lightning, the first card for Manguchi to consider. And he's just going to leave it on top. That Jade Light Ranger grows to be a 4-3. Not a bad rate here. And the Italian Stallion continues to develop his board.
4-3, good enough to block and trade with the Kenra.
Yes, and as Manguchi has more removal coming off the top of his deck as well, it looks like he's in a good position to push further into this late game. And Hendricks has got to find something here to keep up. So Manguchi.
That's a good. I like this combination.
Oh yeah.
Scrying on top with Chandra, knowing exactly what you're gonna draw, so you can.
Fry that 4-4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In comes Gonti.
So Gonti worked as a 2/3 Chupacabra here.
Yeah, did really well.
Yeah.
And it's also got also Death Touch here on this card. Here's a Glory Bringer though. That's a good one from Hendricks. Going to be able to apply pressure.
He's going to be able to kill the Ranger and Chandra at the same time.
Yep. And Manguchi with only 1 mana up. This means that looks like that Glory Bringer is going to get across uncontested, you would think. Gucci seems to be having a chat to old Christian Calculator there. But Hendricks is going to be able to attack and exert. Away goes the Chandra, and away goes the Jade Light Ranger. Well, having a think about it here. It is going to be the Ranger. So that's a great play for Hendricks to get back in the game here.
So I'm just thinking why he would consider not killing the Ranger here. Maybe it was to avoid a Scarab God to reanimate his ranger, but he already has one in the graveyard, so that would not have been a good reason to do that. No, but he just killed it, so he was just making sure that was the right play. Or just he maybe wanted to attack again next turn, since Andre's on 10, so he could have attacked.
Just really put the pressure on.
Yeah, put more pressure.
Well, Chandra comes down. Another Flame Slash here is going to take care of that Glory Bringer. So a second Chandra for Andrea Mengucci is a real nice one for him. This is a really interesting take on the Scarab God in Standard here, this Grixis list from Mengucci. Got the chance to catch up with him about it, and he just really did value those early interactions. He didn't want to play cards like Moment of Craving when he had things like Harness Lightning and Magma Spray to use instead.
Okay, so his hand is we had a glimpse at his hand. So it's a Merfolk Branchwalker and 3 Struggle Survive. Not the card you really want to draw here.
3 copies of Struggle to Survive.
Yeah.
All three.
All three of them in his hand. Yeah.
Jeez. He's got a 4th in his sideboard as well. Let's hope he doesn't draw that.
And the Braid is... I don't think that's what he wants to see.
Nope, that one's going to hit the bin. So 3/2 Merfolk Branchwalker clears out some of the trash from the top of Hendrix's library here. Now, Struggle is going to be a way to, of course, keep the Lord of Luxury off the table, but they'll do a whole lot in multiples against a deck like Mengucci's. Not playing very many creatures, and the ones that he does play, a 3-mana removal spell, doesn't deal with them cleanly. Things like Gonti, things like Whirl of Virtuoso. Struggle isn't enough to take care of them once and for all.
But Struggle is going to take care of the Scarab God. If Mengucci taps 5 mana to play a Struggle, to play the Scarab God, Thomas can kill the Scarab God. The Scarab God will go to the graveyard.
Oh, and then next turn.
And no, on the same turn, on his turn, he's going to play Survive.
Yeah, sure.
And then shuffle. No, he would do that on his turn. Everything on his turn.
Yep.
Or at the beginning.
No, couldn't do it. Couldn't split it across the 2 turns there, because obviously the Scarab God would come back. That's right.
So yeah, sorry, he can't Struggle end of turn after the Scarab God. Wouldn't have triggered. So end of turn, beginning of the end step. If a Scarab God is in the graveyard, it triggers if it died.
I think the point is here.
Yeah.
Struggle to Survive is an answer to the Scarab God.
Yeah, but the timing is important.
The timing is very important.
Timing is very important.
Timing is very
If he does it at the end of turn, that works. If he does it during his turn, before the end of turn, it doesn't work.
Glensleeve Siphoner, the play here for Mengucci. Hasn't this card just really shown us how powerful she is this game? This tournament.
He might overthrow the Scarab God as the best card of the tournament.
You think so?
I think it's close. Both cards are great.
Yeah. Both cards are terrific. Both cards really making their mark in Standard. Glensleeve Siphoner is something of a newcomer here, as a Chandra Torture Defiance comes down for Hendrix.
So some action, finally.
Yep, and that means that opposing Chandra here, this is an enormous flavor violation. We do have a flavor judge on hand, of course, to rule in these situations. But from a gameplay perspective, it's all coming up trumps here for Hendrix.
Killed Siphoner, so no card advantage.
Nice turn here for Hendrix, but a
Supreme
Will.
Ooh.
All right, so Mengucci is going to use that to protect his Glensleeve Siphoner. Obviously values that card advantage engine here. And it's back to Mengucci now, untapping with a lot of mana to use, and he's going to be able to draw an extra card off that Glensleeve Siphoner as well.
And Mengucci not able to kill Chandra this turn. He only has 4 power in play.
That's true, and all of these burn spells in his deck, of course, only targeting creatures. Up to 2 energy now. Chandra down to 1 loyalty. So this has turned into a bit of a slugfest here. Life turtles haven't changed too much in recent times. Here is the Scarab God from Thomas, or for Andrea Mengucci, but happily for Hendrix.
Does he have? No, he doesn't have the 9th land to activate it right away. So that means the struggle is going to be useful here.
Very expensive answer to the Scarab God, but it is going to get the job done all the same. So Struggle to Survive is effectively a clean answer to the Scarab God, preventing that last triggered ability from having any real worth.
So now if Andrea has a counter spell in hand, do you counter the Struggle?
Or the Survive?
Yeah, because if he plays the Struggle, the Scarab God is going to die. But then the Survive part would take care of the Scarab God right for good, for now. But if Andrea counters that part of the spell, then the Scarab God will just come back.
Chandra Torch of Defiance, dinging Mengucci for
but he has
2 here.
he has 2 of them in the graveyard, so
Yeah.
my point does not work.
So, Scarab God goes away to the bin, and now we will almost certainly see Hendrix cast Survive here in order to shuffle away those graveyards.
So Survive is 2 mana, so he can cast 2. So no point in countering the first one.
All right, so Survive is going to shuffle away those graveyards there.
It's a good way to deal with the Scarab God.
Yep.
There's also a Puncturing Blow, not as good. It's a 4 mana sorcery, 5 damage to creature, exile it if it dies.
Yeah, it's a bit more of an expensive option. Still gets it done, though.
It's only 4 mana. It's not more expensive. It's just less
Less flexible.
flexible.
Sure.
As an instant, that card would have been great. That would
Yeah.
have been a great answer. And I think that card, Scarab God would be a little worse
If there was an instant...
if that card, that
yeah.
would totally change the meta game, I think.
You think so?
I think
it's
that would
that
be
good?
if
Wow.
that was an instant.
Yeah. All right.
I think that would change a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen cards like War Leader's Helix have big impacts in previous formats. And Glinsleeve siphoned it down once again here. So Hendrix is keeping himself afloat. And this is the texture of this match is really showing us what this standard format is capable of. It's a very interactive match that we're seeing so far. Lots of counterplay. Not a clear advantage to either player here as a Merfolk Branchwalker.
Ooh,
Pins
that's
an
a
Earthshaker
good one.
Kenra. That's a nice one there, yeah.
That's the
Jeez, a big play here for Hendrix.
That's the dream. He had no he had no cards in hand at the beginning of the turn, and then he gets a 3/2 and a 4/4 haste.
Instant board, just add water
Yeah.
here for Hendrix.
That
Really
turn
nice
was
sequence.
rough for Andrea.
Super nice sequence here.
And he can't counter.
No. I mean, a disallow
Paralyzed.
will
Yep.
will.
Oh, yeah,
trigger
he
the-
can internalize. He can't counter the trigger. He cannot counter with Essence Scatter, for example.
No.
That's a great turn.
So the Merfolk Branchwalker does pick up a counter because it didn't reveal a land. So we've got a 3/2 and a 4/4. One of them with haste as well. It's not too bad. Not too bad a situation here.
You would think that Glorybringer was a good draw, but that was much better.
It was actually, much better. Magma Spray on the Merfolk Branchwalker. Mengucci down to 3 here. He's going to have to hold back that Gonti if he can't find something else. But a Confiscation Coup, how about that one? Doesn't even have to pay any energy here. Converted mana cost of the Earthshaker Kenra still 0 here, the Eternalized version. Although those Eternalized with the Scarab God do have converted mana costs, important to remember. So up to 6 energy now. And in comes Gonti. So Hendrix has to find something special here, as Mengucci has really continued to chuck these punches about. But Raph, it's been fascinating, the level of back and forth between these two players so far.
Yeah, and if the thing is now Thomas has to find something quick because it's a 2-turn clock on the Andrea's side.
Supreme Will. 4 cards off the top, 3 lands,
And
Scarab
Scarab
God.
God
I think it's a
here.
Gonti hanging out in the front of there as well. But a Scarab God's a nice one here for Mengucci. Maybe that was the one he shuffled away earlier. So, Hendrix.
He's angry for
On the back foot.
revenge here.
Yeah. He's going to come back hulking and furious. So here is the Scarab God as Hendrix falls down to 6, and Mengucci may have just found the tools he needs to finally put this one to bed.
And the Siphoner in the graveyard, so that's an extra creature.
And that is
And
that
that's
for
it, yeah.
Thomas Hendrix. Has to pack it up. And what a game of Magic we just saw. Raph Levy, a really, really fascinating sort of network of counterplay and back and forth between two of the best players in the world. That was a real joy to watch. And on our back tables, we can see that the results went the other way here for these teams, as both Ivan Floch and Andrei Strasky picked up Game 1 wins, respectively, in their matches against Calcano and Dominguez.
So Ivan and Christian are playing Junt, so it's a Junt mirror, and Andre is playing. Playing. How would you call that deck? You know the
Canadian
name.
Threshold.
Canadian Threshold.
Canadian
All
Threshold.
right. And he's playing against Javier Dominguez, who is playing about. Oh, he's playing. Bug.
Yeah.
Which is
Sultai Delver.
Sultai Delver.
Raphael Levy was, in fact, you've been playing Magic for how many? 2,000-3,000 years?
About 1,000 years.
But
the names of the deck change all the time.
Exactly.
So I could give you a name and you tell me, like, what's this deck?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So on the screen, you can see the matchup here, and we've already seen Grixis control Grixis Energy facing off against Red Green Monsters in the hands of Thomas Hendricks. John Mirror on Modern, but as we mentioned there, Andre Strasky and Javier Dominguez, Bug Delver, Sultai Delver, whatever you want to call it, versus this Threshold deck from Andre Strasky. And the reason we call it Threshold or Canadian Threshold is because, of course, of Nimble Mongoose. Nimble Mongoose was the threat of choice for these decks before Delver of Secrets was printed. Now that the Delver decks are around, we do see him. I guess more Delvers than Mongoose. Mongooses, excuse me. But these days, the old Nimble Mongoose can still get up and about.
But they're buds now.
They are friends.
Yeah.
The Nimble Mongoose plays second fiddle to the Delver of Secrets. But Deathrite Shaman is also a very, very powerful one-drop in Legacy. And Strasky here
helps keep the Mongoose small.
It does. Yep, eating away those graveyards. 3 cards off a ponder here for Andre Strasky, who has zero lands in play, thanks to, it looks like a Wasteland and a Daze has been cast by him already. I think many people would have thought that Strasky would have turned up with his favorite Legacy deck, Check Pile, 4-color mid-range there, the Leovold Emissary of Tress deck, but it looks like he's surprised all comers here. Something a little different. Dominguez with a sloppy cut there. Back to Strasky after this ponder, draws a card. And I think that's going to be that. Back to Dominguez, who untaps with the Deathrite Shaman. He seems to be in good shape. Nice full grip of cards. What's he up to here? It's going to be a Brainstorm. This is, of course, the archetypical play here in Legacy. Brainstorm in conjunction with Fetch Lands means that it's a source of virtual card advantage. Raph and I were discussing yesterday the fact that there are very few divination type effects in Legacy, but you draw further ahead, you grind it out with virtual card advantage with cards like Brainstorm, Young Pyromancer, and so forth.
I think the reason for that the cards that actually draw you cards, they cost more than one.
They cost more than one, yeah.
And Legacy is a lot about cards that cost 1 or 0. And there are not a lot of cards that do that for 0 mana.
No, a 2-drop is like expensive.
That's the end of the world.
A 2-drop is like a curve topper in a lot of Legacy decks. I mean, we do see Jace the Mind Sculptor played in Miracles, and Palace Jailer played in decks like Death and Taxes, but invariably, especially on these tiny decks, these small decks here is 1 mana spells and 5 mana spells as well in Force of Will. Now we're going to see, I think, pitching Force to counter this Delver of Secrets. I assume it's a Delver of Secrets and, not... I don't know.
It is.
I can't even name a single other flip card. Garrick Relentless from Innistrad. In comes Deathrite Shaman.
For 1 blue or 1 black, I think that's the only one.
Looks like a Daze has taken care of that Force of Will now, and a Preordain.
That Wasteland that took care of Andre's only land. It prevented him from casting Daze, which was not exactly super useful in that case because the Deathrite Shaman was untapped.
Yeah. Insectile Aberration flipping for Dominguez here. So he's the one with the clock. And this is a pretty typical game of Legacy, you would say. It's a game of very thin margins. Every drop of mana is precious. And I think we're going to see him Turak played from by Dominguez here as he fetches, finds a Bayou. And that would certainly indicate to me that Strasky is about to have to discard a couple of cards. Now, the really good thing about Tim Turak is, of course, these cards are discarded at random.
Yeah. I like this card. I like the picture of this card.
Yeah.
The Oling Wolf.
Looks like one of those. Looks like one of those shirts that you can buy with the 3 Moon Wolf or whatever it is. 3 Wolf Moon. But him to Turak snags a True Name Nemesis and a Wasteland here for Strasky. He's got 3 cards left in hand after that draw step, and inadvertently reveals a Nimble Mongoose. He decides to cast it all the same. Nice turn for him. Gets himself back on the board. 3/3 Shroud takes care of the Insectile Aberration.
And it's going to take a while for Javier to make that Mongoose smaller because there's a lot of cards in the graveyard.
Double Deathrite may help in that regard, but for the time being, Strasky is going to be able to sit behind this very, very resilient threat here.
It takes 7 to make Threshold. But Strasky is only on 9 life, and he's facing 2 Deathrite Shaman. So it's only 5 activations, but about 3 turns.
Yeah, and
so 1 this turn 7.
The fact that both of Dominguez's lands tap and black means that that's going to come around sooner rather than later here, you would think.
It's a 3-turn clock.
Strasky under the gun here, going to have to find something to deal with these Shamans. Of course, they slice, they dice, they do it all. for one easy payment of 1 mana. It can be yours. Stratsky draws off the shuffle now after having pondered, and he's going to get in. Here's the Mongoose. Getting busy.
Yeah, still enough cards.
And a Lightning Bolt hits the exile zone to do 2 damage to Andre Stratsky. Let's have a look what Dominguez can find here.
Another Delver.
It's a great way to apply even further pressure.
Just
Stratsky,
to make sure he's winning next turn.
Stratsky having a hard time of it here. What can he find? Not too many cards that are going to get you out of this.
Explosive Soul Wine wouldn't even work. He would need an extra land.
So, activation of Deathrite Shaman here for Dominguez. Get rid of this Preordain and this Ponder.
Oh, that was a bolt. That was
And a Lightning Bolt.
that was a good draw.
So that stems the bleeding a little bit, but a Brainstorm off the top here for Dominguez. They've just always got it. They always flip the Delver. And that is going to be enough here for Andre Stratsky to pack up his cards and go to game number 2. So equalizing there, Javier Dominguez, the World Championship finalist.
Go to game number 3.
Sorry, game number 3 here as we've seen both players will pick up an early victory. Looks like on our other tables we don't have any updates as Calcano and Flock battle it out in addition to Mengucci and Hendricks. Calcano and Flock on the Jund Mirror, Jund deck that has recently received a real shot in the arm, you would have to say, with the addition of Bloodbraid Elf back into the format. Of course, Abzan was the deck of choice for black-green rock players previously, Raph. These days, it's all about that BBE.
Yeah, Abzan cannot play BBE.
No. No, it'd be a very greedy player who would try to put Lingering Souls in a deck with BBE. But of course, I mean, you could do it.
That's actually
not a bad hit.
It's a pretty good hit.
Not a bad hit at all. We did it, Raph. We broke it.
Yeah, the mana is going to be a little stretched.
A little rough?
Yeah.
Nah, don't even worry about it. Put Chromatic Lantern in there as well. Hit that off a BBE. Oh, easy game.
Probably not the best hit.
Well, all right. Agree to disagree. Both these players sideboarding now. Going to see if we can hop over and see what's going on in other tables. Jump back into our standard match here and see what's going on. Another Gonti Lord of Luxury on the battlefield for Andrea Mengucci. Hendricks with what looks like a pretty empty battlefield on his side of things. Got a little Pokedex happening though. Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Going to draw him some extra cards. Scry some cards away. Looks like that one went below decks here. This card is pretty crucial in these mid-ranged or slower matchups here.
I like it with in decks that are a little cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
When your creatures are a Glorybringer, it just sounds a little too slow.
Yeah. Yeah,
but,
sure.
But Thomas has a couple of 2-drops and like Merfolk, Branchwalker, Jadelight Ranger. But still, it's 3 mana, 4 mana to draw a card.
Here's the Ranger. Not going to draw a card off at this time because Mengucci did flip an Abrade to that Gonti. And a Commit to Memory is going to take care of the Ranger before it's even had time to party. So Hendricks under a bit of pressure here from Mengucci, who is hitting his land drops and really firing on all cylinders by the sounds of things with his Gonti. Really impressed by this card. Caught up with Mengucci about the inclusion of Gonti in his deck, and he said it is just a straight up 2-for-1 every time.
So can you give me the text of Doomfall?
Doomfall is target player exiles a creature or reveal their hand, exile a card from that hand. So
I'm trying to see what happened to the... I'm trying to figure out what happened to all. Yes. Oh.
we got a Struggle to Survive here being cast.
Like, isn't something exiled from the Doomfall?
I don't know.
Like we missed the beginning,
it
but
could be off the
exile
screen there.
Creature, yeah.
Could be off the
Exile.
screen.
I think one of the. Yeah, I think one of the. We missed the beginning, but I can only imagine that something must be exiled.
Yeah.
Unless he discarded it.
Maybe we got their exile zone is like
Yeah, maybe
super off the
maybe we're
screen.
missing the
Maybe the
exile.
exile zone is on the floor under the table.
Yeah.
So Commit to Memory now. Draw some extra cards. Nice fresh grip for both players here.
Oh, right.
There's the Rekindling Phoenix
I
that was
see.
exiled. That's a nice one. Nice one to
All right.
exile, of course. And Commit to Memory after having resolved, shuffling away both graveyards and drawing fresh grips for both players.
All right, now we see what
Yeah.
happened.
Now we can see what's up.
So it was just a Time Twister played.
Mm-hmm. Just the 6-mana Time Twister.
A Time Spiral, no untaps.
And a Glorybringer Exerted is going to take care of Gonti. So, not a 2-for-1 this time, although Mengucci still got a good amount of value off of the Lord of Luxury here. Let's see what comes up next.
That's a packed hand. 2 Raska's Contempt.
Yeah, packed and stacked, huh?
Confiscation Coup.
Confiscation Coup?
Confiscation Coup.
Every now and again, you
Virtuoso.
just engage full-on French mode.
Yeah. That's when my tongue slips.
Oh, yeah.
Ball.
And a Confiscation Coup on the Glorybringer here. So a nice turnaround of things for Mengucci as he goes down to 2 energy.
Well, it's a French word afterward. After all.
Coup.
Yeah, cool.
Coup. And so I think the question here is whether it untaps or not after the exertion trigger.
I think it does.
I think it does too. Because it
Like
says
he
it doesn't
would
untap during your untap step.
Like he would not untap now.
No, not now. But I think next turn, Mengucci is going to be able to untap with the Glorybringer.
That's right.
And a World of Virtuoso. Also a 4 of inclusion in Mengucci's deck. He values this card very highly indeed, it has to be said. A little value engine for all of that extra energy that might be floating about here and there. And we'll see what's up now for Hendricks. Of course, he's got a nice full grip after that memory was cast. We'll see what he intends to do about it because he's facing down quite a board. Here's 3 mana. You'll see a struggle. Never a nice feeling to have to struggle to blast your own creature out of the sky here, but, well, needs must, and that's what happens here with Hendricks. A lot of basics in this list as well. 8 mountains, 8 forests, 4 sheltered thickets. No funny business with these with this mana.
Disgorge, Scavenger.
And a Deathgorge Scavenger is a nice way to contest those graveyards. Probably going to want to snag that Gonti out of there before there are any shenanigans with future copies of the Scarab God. No, instead it's going to be the Glorybringer.
Protecting his Glorybringer from attacking.
Uh-huh.
If Andrea manages to get his 9th land and activate his Scarab God right away.
Mengucci cycles away Canyon Slough here. Finds a Harness Lightning to take care of the Deathgorge Scavenger. Let's have a look at what's up next. What's next on the menu here for this Mengucci cuisine? It's a pass of the turn. Over to Hendricks now.
Was it a cooked dinosaur?
Yeah. It's Dinosaur a la Flamme.
A la Lightning.
Hendricks. Slowly deploying the cards in his hand after that memory was cast by Mengucci here, offering both players a fresh grip. Looks like he's got a couple of copies of Magma Spray, which aren't doing too much. Surprised to see they remain in after board. I guess he has to deal with the Glintsleeve Siphoners. It looks like we've got a result for our Jund mirror match as well, with Ivan Floch beating Christian Calcano in straight sets.
Yeah, I like that take on blue-black control. The Grixis mid-range Mengucci's playing, because Thomas has to keep the Magma Sprays, which are only good against the Siphoner. And if Andrea doesn't draw the Siphoner,
they're just dead cards.
They're just dead cards. So Thomas has to keep a good number of a good amount of removal, and that they don't do much at the beginning or at the end of the game if the game doesn't go exactly the way he wants.
Even double Magma Spray here is not any good against the Scarab God. You'd think exiling it would be fantastic, but we're going to see a Braid plus Magma Spray here. So Hendricks, with the old 2-for-1 on himself.
Harness Lightning would actually be pretty good here.
And now we're going to see...
To kill the Scarab God.
Oh, right, yeah. And now we're going to see a Gonti reanimated thanks to that Scarab God, which will be departing stage right for good here.
But that's just much better. Getting a 4/4 for free for no card.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be more Scarab Gods.
Alas, poor Scarab God. I knew him, Raph.
Yeah.
And now he's gone. Really has been running the tables this weekend, the Scarab God. Certainly something to keep on at the forefront of your mind if you're a standard player. The fact that you do need to deal with this 5/5. I mean, this is it's not news to you. This card has been great since it was printed, but really shining brighter than ever before, I would have to say. Big attack
4,
now
5,
from
6,
Mengucci.
7. Yeah, Thomas is.
Oh,
Oh,
and a Carnage
look at
Tyrant
this.
as well. Oh dear. Enough for Hendricks to
Yeah,
pack him up
that's-
there, and the game goes
it's a
the way of
1-1.
Mengucci, as indeed does the match. So, Andrei Mengucci avenging the loss of his teammate there, Christian Calcano, and now it all comes down to Dominguez and Strasky. We are going to try to jump over onto that table just as quick as we can to see what's going on between Strasky and Dominguez, because again, this legacy game, Raf, will determine the outcome of this match.
Loser, probably no shot at top 4.
No. It's very unlikely. We may have one team sneak on X and 3 just based on the way that the numbers have panned out at this tournament. But picking up a loss this early on in round 11 is probably not going to be the best place to do it here. Deathrite Shaman on the side of Dominguez, a Brainstorm on the side of Andre Strasky. We've got our classic legacy cards out to play today. This matchup between Sultai Delver on your left and Canadian Threshold on your right, or Timo Delver if you want to call it that. So many different possible nomenclatures here for these legacy decks.
So look at the convert mana cost of every single card that's been played.
It's exactly 1.
It's exactly 1, except for lands. And if it's not 1, it's probably 0.
If it's not 1, it's effectively 0 with something like Days or Force of Will. Yep. Yeah, legacy mana curves are super weird because they're really, really like tons of 1s, a couple of 2s, and then obviously 4, 5 drops.
And I think if you're wondering why Treasure Cruise was banned in Legacy, that's exactly for this reason.
Yeah.
Because all the cards that you don't see card advantage, you see 1-for-1. Punter is a 1-for-1. Brainstorm is a 1-for-1. Bolt is a 1-for-1. And Treasure Cruise was 1 mana, 1-for-3. So it kind of broke the balance in that 1-for-1 in these 1-for-1 matches.
Yeah, it was just it was a very, very easy way to refuel there, and it was unsurprising to see Treasure Cruise get hit by the Banhammer. Dig Through Time has also suffered the same fate in Legacy, given the fact that I think preemptively they realised that it was just going to be the new Treasure Cruise as soon as Cruise left the format. It's good to see mistakes like that being made, however. Obviously, Treasure Cruise's reign was not too long. Burned hot and bright in Modern as well. But exited the format, and we haven't seen it since. Dominguez now goes hunting for a land. What's he searching for here? Going to be able to deploy more threats to the battlefield, perhaps. The curves do, I mean, we talk about them being stuck at, 1 and 2, but I mean, there are 3 drops that are played throughout the format, and there are a couple of them in Dominguez's deck in the form of Liliana of the Veil. We also see things like True Name Nemesis as well.
It's a hard card to deal with in Threshold decks. You can Pyroblast it as soon as it's being cast.
Yeah, on the stack you can, of course, yes.
Yeah. But then it's too late.
So Dominguez here goes searching again. We may see a Liliana cast here. He's going searching for that 3rd land. I'm not sure exactly what he's looking to play here.
So I'm looking at Andre's deck, and once True Name Nemesis resolves, he has no answer to it.
At all?
I don't see any.
No Diabolic Edicts, no Council's Judgment?
No, he's not playing black, so.
Or white.
So no, there's not going to be any Diabolic Edicts.
Oh dear. And now Deathrite Shaman is looking to get busy here.
There are not a lot of cards in these colors.
No, in the team of colors. No, they're not. We're going to see...
In black you have some. You have Liliana. You have Diabolic Edict.
Here is Liliana of the Veil now. Huge haymaker here for Dominguez. Really, this is the equivalent of something like a Carnage Tyrant in Standard. Playing a 3-drop in Legacy is no joke. Especially in these.
It has to be good. It has to be very good.
Oh yeah.
Well, at least in these matches.
It is a big windmill slam for this one here, and Strasky has been given pause to think about it. I think he may have an answer. Obviously, Dominguez is playing around Days and representing further ways to ensure his Liliana resolves here, and it's going to. Both players discard. Having made their selection, we'll see exactly what they wanted to chuck out here. Dominguez snaps off his decision. Strasky takes a little bit longer, and we'll see. 3, 2, 1. What do we got? Oh no!
You're first.
Still
first.
thinking about it.
You first.
Well, a fatal push from Dominguez and a mystery card from Strasky here. Very odd graveyard configuration for the young Czech player.
So it seems fairly obvious that Javier exiled a land from Andre's graveyard, but it serves extra purpose because of the Nimble Mongoose.
Yes, he's going to look to keep that graveyard as
it's going to be hard.
Slim as possible.
Unlikely it matters ever, because most of Andre's spells are going to end up in the graveyard every turn.
Yeah.
But just in case there's another one, there's another Shaman to speed up the process.
Given how cheap Andre's deck is here, it's not going to be hard for him to keep that graveyard well stocked now. But he's under pressure.
Not a lot of pressure.
Liliana the Veil is certainly no joke. He's going to have to find a way to contest it.
Yeah.
Dominguez still representing some kind of interaction with one land up and 2 cards in hand.
And Andre is playing True Name Nemesis in his sideboard, but right now, not too hot with Liliana on the board.
So Flooded Strand goes searching. Here is a True Name Nemesis, keeping that Tropical Island up to play around days as we see Stratsky search out that 3rd land to pay for it.
Yeah, and he plays another creature to be Liliana proof, and Javier is going to look for a counter for this one.
Brainstorm. Dominguez draws 3 cards, and with the Mongoose on the stack here, what can Dominguez find? 2 cards have to go back on top, of course. Can get a good look at what those cards were. I think I saw a Tarmogoyf in hand here for Dominguez. Ponder and Fetch put back on top for the Spaniard. Sacrifice a creature. Stratsky sacrifices, well, probably going to be that Mongoose.
Oh, if Javier has another Liliana,
oh dear,
that would be savage.
Just the double edict. Looks like Flock and Hendricks have come to have a chat about how this game is going out here. A lot of chat going on at the table. 2 mana, and it's a Tarmogoyf. Okay, so that's quite the clock here, but the True Name Nemesis looks to be able to fight another day.
Yeah. So it's going to take care of the Liliana here. I can only assume he's going to do that, because otherwise he's going to have to sacrifice his Nemesis.
Another True Name Nemesis. So this is just double the clock here for Stratsky.
He has 1 domain and 2 in the board, so it's 3 in total.
Well, 2 copies of it here is really going to put the Spaniard to task, as we see Dominguez gain a little bit of life here, exiling that Nimble Mongoose. This Tarmogoyf is a big bad thumper right now, as another Brainstorm is played for Dominguez, and he found a Golgari Charm off the top.
I was actually looking at Javier's list to see if there was
that's so huge
a
here,
Golgari Charm or more edicts. He has 1 edict in the sideboard,
and this is
1 Golgari Charm.
This is one of the most disgusting 2 for 1s you're going to see in this format, ladies and gentlemen. Double True Name Nemesis here for Andre Stratsky, the card that can't be answered, and Dominguez plucks the Golgari Charm off the top of his library, and no worries at all.
Or he can just generate each of his creatures.
Very true. Yeah, destroy target enchantment, sure. But it's going to be this -1/-1 effect that is going to be disgusting here. Does Stratsky have anything to say about it? He does not, and the Tarmogoyf rubbing salt into the wound. Ugh. Raphael Levy handed that bucket. I'm going to be sick.
That has to feel bad.
That is a disgusting play here for Dominguez, who absolutely took Andre to the cleaners with that play.
In Legacy, the thing is, you can play 1-ofs and
expect to see them.
And reliably see them during the game, because you see so many of your cards with Ponder, with Brainstorm, with the fetches. You can shuffle, you can look at a lot of cards in your deck. And
here's a price of progress to seal the deal here for Andre Stratsky, going out in style. And unfortunately for Hendricks, Flock, and Stratsky, that will be that for their top 4 hopes here. But their opponents, Calcana, Mengucci, and Dominguez, live to fight another day. At X and 2, of course, they've still got to dig deep and really battle hard. But things are looking good for the team superstars on the left-hand side of the screen. What a dramatic ending there. Golgari Charm was just massive for Dominguez there.
That was the best card he could draw.
Yeah, perfect answer there. Absolutely, it was indeed. My friends, we're going to go to some ads now, but on the other side of this break, we'll be back with some Time Org magic, and you're not going to want to miss it. So stick around. We'll see you back at GP Madrid before very much longer. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the tournament floor here at GP Madrid. My name's Riley Knight, and I'm joined, of course, and you are joined by Rafael Levy, the French Hall of Famer. You are watching MTG Red Zone, ladies and gentlemen, and it's great to have you along as we get into some Time Walk magic. We're going to have a look at our matchup here and see the two teams that we're going to be having a look at here. Elias Watsfeld, Joel Larsen, and Per Nystrom here. We've got blue-black control and Jund and Red Prison, a legacy deck that doesn't get a lot of airtime, but it's done very well for this Scando trio here. And they're playing Adrian Ramiro Cano, Christian Ortiz Ross, and Rodrigo Togores on blue-black mid-range, Living End, and Storm, respectively. Blue-black mirror in standard, well, not quite a mirror match, but this is the strategy, the premier strategy, you would say, in standard at the moment, Raf.
One has more control, one has more creatures. And it feels that the mid-range deck is a little favorite in this matchup because of its way of getting its card advantage. And if unanswered, it will like slowly get ahead.
Slowly snowball out of control here, and that's exactly what well, both of these players will be hopefully hoping to do here. But as we see,
Champion of Wits very efficient in this matchup.
Yeah. And Ramiro Cano on the more mid-range list has plenty of ways to contest the battlefield very effectively. Gonti is a nice little brick wall for Watsfeld here, but it looks like Cano has other plans entirely here.
So Fatal Push, the Revolt of Fatal Push, enabled by Field of Ruins.
And a tidy turn here for Ramiro Cano, removing all of the creatures here.
A card exiled from Gonti on Elias's side.
And attack for 4. Watsfeld under a bit of pressure. He's got this Arguel's Bloodfast to keep ahead of on cards, but he's not ahead on life right now, and that could be important moving forward. Ramiro Cano with another Gonti. 4 cards off the top.
He's not waiting for it to be dealt with. He just wants to have it in play right away.
Torrential Gearhulk, in addition to what looks like a Moment of Craving and 2 lands.
No, I think it's a Restless Contempt.
It's a Restless Contempt, okay.
And a moment. No. Moments of Craving, land, Restless Contempt, and Gearhulk.
Okay.
I think I would go for Gearhulk here.
Looks like Ramiro Cano agrees with you there, Raf.
That's right. And he has 6 mana. Does he have energy? He might not have energy. I don't know. Can't see from here.
Can't see the energy pools just yet, but we can see that Watsfeld is going to draw another card with Arguel's Bloodfast, knocking himself down to 12.
I think that's one of the cards that impressed me the most this weekend. As in, not the top card, the Scarab God or Glint-Sleeve Siphoner, but the Bloodfast.
Yeah. Another way to...
It's been great on camera.
Pull ahead on cards. And another way to pull ahead on the board is Metallurgic Summonings. This card is not something that we see a lot of, generally speaking, but it's a great one out of the board, effectively creating a creature for every instant or sorcery that it's cast by Watsfeld.
And he has 2.
He's got 2 copies.
2 copies, yeah.
And an Arguel's Bloodfast here for Ramiro Cano.
It's not quite Necropotent, but it kind of works the same way.
It's getting close to it, huh?
No, it uses the life to draw cards, and it's closer to Greed.
Yeah.
But it's cheaper to play, a little more expensive to use. But in games where you don't really fear for your life total, it's just great. It's a great way to manage your resources.
Reminds me of Erebos. Yeah, God of the Dead.
Oh, Erebos.
In
I thought you said Airbus.
It reminds me of the Airbus A380.
Airbus, yeah.
And the fact that it just flies through the skies and takes hundreds of people around the world every day. Not quite. Airbus, the God of the Dead. He crossed the river Styx in an Airbus. Oh, dear. Watsfeld now. He's got a Vraska's Contempt, and that's a nice answer to the Champion of Wits, of course. And that means that he gets a 4/4.
That triggers the summonings even if the counter is countered.
Yeah. It's whenever you cast it. So it doesn't have to resolve. So a nice little 1-2 punch here for Watsfeld. Ramiro Cano draws a Torrential Gearhulk off the top. He's got a negate in hand, though.
Yeah, but he also has a Fatal Push to kill the 4/4. So is he going to counter here? I was just going to let it resolve.
Depends how highly he values not only the this side of the champion wits, but also the Eternalize ability, because Vraska's Contempt very neatly cuts that short. Having a good old think about how he wants to proceed here.
I think he will need to counter the drawing spells, because that's what fuels the summonings. If Elias doesn't have ways to draw, then he won't be making as many creatures. Does he care about this guy?
Well, he seems to be thinking about it long and hard here.
Yeah, I think
ultimately,
yeah,
it's going to be exiled. Watsfeld gains 2 life.
I think he's going to play Fatal Push. No? Oh, okay. I think keeping the pressure here would have been a little.
Well, here's Liliana Death's Majesty. We saw the 4/4 block the 2/3 Gonti just now, and that's why both of those creatures traded off.
And that resolves. Okay.
And now with this Liliana bringing back Gonti, the Lord of Luxury for one more game. Let's get another card off the top here.
That's a game-winning play.
Pretty huge.
I think that the choice he had was to just wait a turn to have a counter backup and to make sure Liliana was there, but then
Fatal Push on the Lord of Luxury, but the damage has already been done because Ramiro Cano has 2 extra cards off of that Gonti now.
And only a 1/1.
1/1 thanks to the Metallurgic Summonings.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's not killing Liliana.
So this 1/1 now. Metallurgic Summonings is, again, a great way to contest the board with all of those instants and sorceries. As Liliana gets knocked. No. Okay, going straight at the Domesky. And now here's a Torrential Gearhulk, and Vraska's Contempt flash back to exile Liliana. Another 4/4. But Metallurgic Summonings has a secret mode. You can sacrifice it, pay some mana and sacrifice it to return all instants and sorceries from your graveyard to your hand, only if you have 6 or more artifacts. I mean, if you have 6 or more artifacts and they're all creatures that you've made with Metallurgic Summonings, you should be winning anyway.
I've seen Elias having many creatures in play. So it's not going to matter yet, but it could.
So Ramiro Cano does have a Torrential Gearhulk and a Disallow effectively in hand. They've both been exiled with Gonti, so he can cast them whenever he chooses.
So with Elias on 12 life, he can start using the Bloodfast again and fuel his summonings.
Looks like he does have at least 1 energy here, so as to activate that that Ether Hub.
Yeah, I wasn't sure of that.
Got a lot of swamps and a lot of islands here, but it's going to be Torrential Gearhulk out the hand. So while Watsfeld is tapped out, looks like Ramiro Cano is going to pick his moment here, and it's going to be a Fatal Push on the 4/4. Nice tidy answer to quite a large creature there. And of course doing it while Watsfeld was tapped out.
Feels bad to have the negate in hand and no blue mana open.
Gearhulk gets sent in.
And it's for free because if Adrian chooses to block, then he might be facing Moment of Craving.
And it looks like that's the card that's going to punish him here.
Oh yeah, well he had it. But if Elias did not have the Moment of Craving, that could have been 5 free damage because Adrian could have been like, oh, I could have been wary of the Moment of Craving. He did have it, so the attack was even more obvious.
Watsfeld is drawing ahead slowly but surely here. Metallurgic Summoning's really putting in a lot of work. He hasn't drawn too many cards off that Bloodfast recently. Ramiro Cano has kept the cards flowing.
It's a lot of blue cards for very few blue sources.
Oh dear. Poor old Adrian Ramiro Cano. It looks like he's sitting on is that a Charter Course in addition to a Torrential Gearhulk?
It is. It is.
He's going to have a read of Metallurgic Summonings.
So that card is taking over.
Yeah. We can remind ourselves of the exact text of the card. It says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. You can see on the screen there, a construct was created for 1 with a Fatal Push and for 2 with a Moment of Craving. But then if you pay 5, you can exile Metallurgic Summonings and return all instant sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand. A bit of a refuel there, but you've got to have 6 artifacts to be able to activate that ability.
Oh, I see what went wrong on the Adrian side.
Tell me.
when he used his Field of Ruin,
Oh.
he went for a swamp, to be able to play his Fatal Push on the same turn.
Uh-huh.
And I think his plan was to get an island, but that just didn't work with the mana. So he got a swamp, and now he's paying the high price for not having enough blue mana.
Yeah, he's been punished for it here. He has finally found another island, but Watsfeld draws another card thanks to Argor's Bloodfast, and another one just for good measure. So he's keeping that hand nice and stocked here.
Yeah, he's flying away on an Airbus.
This Airbus really is taking him a long way into the stratosphere here. Watsfeld draws his third card in a row, and he's got plenty of action. Kano's got a nice grip. He's got Disallows, he's got Torrential Gearhulks, but he doesn't have double blue to cast them.
Yeah, he can't back the Torrential Gearhulk.
He could have energy. This is not something that is abundantly clear to us right now.
No, but he only has 7 lands, so he can't play Gearhulk and negate.
No.
To
he definitely doesn't. He doesn't have 3. He doesn't have 3 blue, no matter how you slice it.
Yes.
But Watsfeld
or 3 or 7 or 8 mana.
Yeah, it's just not happening. It looks like, however, he does have enough energy to be able to cast this Torrential Gearhulk.
Yeah. Well, it's up the screen.
So he didn't make any indication that he's changed his energy count there.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what the
Okay.
energy count is. And Commit Memory.
Commit to Memory is creating another 4/4 here.
It's pretty great because
that's concerning because Adrian Ramiro kind of didn't make any indication to have changed an energy pool there.
I know.
I mean, this is a replay. This is Time Warp Magic, ladies and gentlemen,
see,
so we can't really do anything about this here, but that is something worth noting there.
Yeah, and he doesn't have any way to create energy.
Oh, he doesn't actually need to be able to create energy with it. That Torrential
Gearhulk
was from
with
Gonti.
the Gonti. That's right.
Excuse me. Yeah.
That's why he could cast it.
And he had the one in his hand that he's already cast.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
Also, I like the play of the committing the Gearhulk, his own Gearhulk. So he's going to draw it next turn since he's going to draw an extra card.
Yeah, that was very neat. Very neat.
I like that.
Yeah. So Watsfeld has really done a great job of continuing to keep himself well and truly ahead in this match. Metallurgic Summoning's pulling a double shift here and doing so much work for him. Really like this card as something of a mirror breaker in these long drawn-out games. Here's another Torrential Gearhulk, but it doesn't even touch the table before Watsfeld finds the Essence Scatter, and that is that, with Watsfeld taking out the second game, which means, of course, that it's a wash on our modern table, and that is that. The team of Swedes on the left-hand side of your screen have won, and they go through to the next round with a very good record. Ralph Levy. That is just about that for this round of MTG Red Zone. Stick with us, of course. We've got to go to a break, but on the other side of it, you'll be joined by Tim and Moraine for more magic here from GP Madrid. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you back here very soon.
Always know the right play to make? Show off your skills at a local preliminary Pro Tour qualifier. With over 2,000 game stores worldwide running PPTQs, find an event near you at magic.wizards.com/PPTQ.
Hello and welcome back to Grand Prix Madrid. I'm Tim Willoughby, joined by Moraine Lebert, and we're now in the red zone. This is the point where we've got all of the action on Sunday as players fight and claw and just battle to try and make their way into the final elimination stages of this event. We're going to get a chance to see some more great action from this team competition. We've got Legacy, we've got Modern, we've got Standard. We're going to be kicking things off with a little bit of Legacy in our feature match area. Going to get a chance to see a couple of different decks that both lean on the ability to generate a surprising amount of mana on the very first turn of the game. It's something that isn't really possible in Standard, but with the likes of Ancient Tomb, with the likes of City of Traitors, even Simian Spirit Guides in the mix in some cases, definitely potential for it in Legacy. Excited to see how that one plays out in our feature match area. Are there any particular decks that really stand out to you in Legacy, that are ones that you particularly like to either play or indeed watch, Moraine?
Yeah, as I said yesterday, I do like the Dragon Stompy deck, the Ensnaring Bridge, Goblin Rebel Master, basically the red deck that tries to play a 3-drop on turn 1. How does it do so? Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, and then Chrome Mox or Simian Spirit Guide. So it's basically trying to cheat 2 turns in advance. The cards themselves might not seem that powerful, like Goblin Rebel Master on turn 3 is not that good, but it is very good on turn 1.
Well, we might get a chance to see exactly that as we head down to our feature match area for a little bit more magic here from the red zone. Hello and welcome to this round 12 here at Grand Prix Madrid. I'm Tim Willoughby, joined by Moraine Lebert, and we have Adriano Moscato, Carmen Daniello and Alessandro Lippi up against Christopher Green, Ben Jones and Charles Eliatambi. And we were talking before we even started about lands that tap for multiple mana on the very first turn. Eldrazi Temple into an Endless One on turn 1 from Charles Eliatambi. He's on Eldrazi, and this another deck that really gets to make the most of lands that produce additional mana.
The good old Savannah Alliance. Actually, no, 2-2.
2-2 for 1, Isamaru.
Yeah, good old Isamaru. Non-legendary. He did mulligan to 6, Charles. And unfortunately not a Eye of Ugin. This deck, it basically plays 4, 6, 10, 13 lands that produce 2 mana on turn 2. It's got 4 Eldrazi Temple, 2 City of Traders, 4 Ancient Tomb, and 3 Eye of Ugin. So quite a lot of lands that produce 2 mana on turn 1.
And Alessandro Lippi here, he's having a very careful think about what he wants to do on the first turn, because his is quite an explosive hand here. He's playing a turn 1 City of Traitors, and that's a land that taps for 2 mana, but as soon as you play another land, you do have to sacrifice that city, so it's not without a cost. And he's cast a turn 1 Ensnaring Bridge, having exiled a Simian Spirit Guide to Chrome Mox. So,
and this is bad news for the Eldrazi deck. Basically, main deck, he's got no outs. Usually, most decks at least don't have outs. Well, actually, there is one out. There's Thought-Knot Seer and bounce it. No, it's not even a legendary. You cannot bounce it with Karaka. So it's like Thought-Knot Seer and kill your own Thought-Knot Seer to let your opponent draw cards is the only way out, I think, out of Ensnaring Bridge.
And we see there City of Traitors getting replaced by a Mountain. And here is a Chalice of the Void on 2. Both of these decks potentially can do cool things with Chalice of the Void. Looks like Charles Eliatambi has a response there in Warping Whale. He's going to be making an Eldrazi Scion token. He's not going to be able to cast it and resolve it once that Chalice of the Void's in play. So get the value where you can. The extra mana may prove helpful as well if it works out that some other lock pieces come from Alessandro Lippi here. For those of you wondering, Andrea Mengucci, Javier Dominguez and Christian Calcano are still somehow X2, having started their weekend at 1 and 2. Thought-Knot Seer coming along here from Charles Eliatambi, and he sees Goblin Rabble Master, Ensnaring Bridge number 2 and another Mountain. It's kind of a mixed blessing here when you're removing cards with Thought-Knot Seer against an Ensnaring Bridge already in play, as the amount of cards in hand lowers for Alessandro Lippi, so do the prospects of attacking for Charles Eliatambi.
Usually these Eldrazi decks, they run Eldrazi All is Dust. Of course, that not an answer either to Ensnaring Bridge, as it is an artifact. This is the second time today we see an artifact deck. Well, you could consider this mono red deck basically as an artifact deck, artifact control being good, just because in Legacy, people don't play that much artifact removal. If you look at the usual Eldrazi list, Eldrazi aggro list, there's 2 Wretched Bomb, which can come in and get rid of Ensnaring Bridge, but that's about it. There's not much more.
Well, in the face of Ensnaring Bridge, one source of damage that will still keep things going is Endbringer. It's just come into play for Charles Elatambi, and in addition to being able to tap to make it so that creatures can't attack or block, in addition to untapping during each other player's untap step, it does tap to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. He can, of course, also use it to draw cards if he wishes, but right now it's his best way of getting damage through and actually winning this game.
Yeah, 7 turns. It pings for 2 a turn. He actually found one of his very few answers. Of course, if you play so many 2-mana lands, you can afford to play a couple of Endbringers. Usually they run 2 copies of Endbringer. Very powerful Eldrazi if you can play it off of 3 lands.
And here comes a Blood Moon. So that does mean that all of those lands that Charles Elatambi has, firstly, they're not going to be tapping for multiple mana, but also, slightly concerningly for him, he doesn't have a way of producing colorless mana, so literally the only ability that Endbringer that he can use is the dealing damage to Alessandro Lippi. Now, given that that was the thing that was actually closing out games, definitely where he wanted to be anyway, but Blood Moon on other games in this series, it will be best of 3 between these 2 players, is actually really quite good against a lot of what the Eldrazi deck's got going on, because if you catch it with the sorts of lands it has in play right now, none of them are tapping for colorless mana. That means you can't cast Thought-Knot Seer, you can't cast Endbringer, you can't cast a whole variety of the key cards in the Eldrazi deck.
Fury Confluence. Is it actually... Why are we playing the Fury Confluence? I think the Fury Confluence is the only way out, no? I think he should have kept that in hand. Oh, of course, Caracas, a second copy. Because of Blood Moon, you can now play it. A 1/1 endless one. Interestingly, he plays it as a 1/1 because that gives him the highest chance of being able to attack with the endless one. Of course, no use in making a very big one.
So somehow or other there, Alessandro Lippi, I think that if you'd asked him what he was hoping to achieve in Game 1, he probably would have told you more or less the things that he did in terms of game actions. The one game action that he did not get to complete was winning the game, because that Endbringer, accurately named as it turns out.
Yep, ends the game even with a Ensnaring Bridge in play.
Yeah, a very, very interesting bit of tech there. Not something that you would necessarily plan around if your opponent, you knew that they were playing Eldrazi. Would it even be in the top 5 and the top 10 of the Eldrazi that you would be thinking about going into that game?
Nah, probably. Well, I guess if you know all of the deck lists, I think most of the Eldrazi deck lists do run 2 copies of Endbringer. So I guess if you're very familiar with the format, you should have known about the Endbringer. Personally, I didn't remember it, but once he played it, I said, yeah, of course, they do run 2 copies. I mean, if you run so many lands that produce 2 mana, there's Eye of Ugin, there's the Temple, there's City of Traders, there's Ancient Tomb. You usually get to play the Endbringer on turn 3 or 4, and then it's a very powerful creature. It's a 5/5 on turn 3 or 4 that draws you extra cards in the control matchup, pings you when you're locked underneath Ensnaring Bridge, or make sure creatures can block. So a great creature to have.
So that the very first win in this series. Ben Jones, Christoph Green, and Charles Elatambi up against Adriano Moscato. Come on, Daniello and Alessandro Lippi here. Lippi, a very familiar face on the European GP circuit, tried to make it out to just about as many as he can, and in this instance gets to play with a couple of friends at the same time. One of the nice features of Team Magic. So just to give you an idea of what the matchups that we've got going on here, we have a variety of different red decks on the Italian side of the table. Adriano Moscato is on mono red, in addition to Lippi on red prison. In between them, Carmen Daniello, he's got a few extra colours to work with Jund, so red and green and black in total going on there. On the other side of things, Christoph Green, he's on Grixis Energy, Ben Jones on Grixis Shadow, and then Charles Elatambi, he does not want to be Grixis, he wants to be all about the Eldrazi, as we have seen thus far. So a few interesting matchups going on here.
Excuse me.
Some of the decks that we see going on here are not necessarily the ones that we've seen in the hands of so many players in the room. I think that mono red and blue black seem to be the consensus choices for standard, with blue black probably leading the day there. Jund, a popular choice, but while some people love their Bloodbraid Elves, others are all about Jace the Mind Sculptor, or indeed the various other options available in Modern. And then we have, well, in Legacy, the amount of lock pieces in our Legacy matchup definitely a little bit unusual. Now let's have a quick look at the top 10 standings right now. Bonda, Peterson and Nevelson, they have stretched their lead to now a full match win against the field. Elias Watsfeld, Larsen and Nystrom right behind them on 28 points there. We're seeing a lot more draws in this field than we might do in others, and we can, as we go down, we see that on the 9 wins, the 27 points, we have places 3 through 8, and then after that we start to get into the 26s and so on. But the fact that Mengucci, Calcano and Dominguez on 27 points, having started at 1 and 2, is just incredible. 8 wins on the bounce for that team. It doesn't matter too much for them in this exact field whether or not they pick up their losses early or late, because those losses later on just we reckon it's going to be a relatively clean cut. I don't think it's going to come down too much to tiebreakers whether or not they're able to make the cut to, sorry, not to make the top 4.
It seems like both players are mulliganing, or is it just Lippy?
We've had a mulligan from Lippy. I think that Charles might be on a full grip of 7 here. And Lippy carefully considering what he wants to do once more. It seemed like he had a pretty good solid start on game 1, but it didn't quite pan out for him. He's obviously made a couple of adjustments here. Decides to keep, sees a mountain on top, and I think that one might be going to the bottom here. He's already got a couple of mountains in hand. It's a question of what other accelerants he has going on there, really.
I think his hand is mountain, Chromox, and Snaring Bridge, double Chandra. So I actually like keeping the mountain just to make sure you can play a turn 3 Chandra. He plays this one correctly, playing around the Chalice of the Void on 0 on turn 1. Knows that there's no need to protect the Chromox from, for example, Totnuts here. That one won't come out on turn 0. Oh, look at that. He might actually get punished. Oh no, Charles doesn't choose to play it, but that does mean that Alessandro Lippi gets to play his Ensnaring Bridge on turn 2.
Yeah, Ratchet Bomb, at any point it can tap and sacrifice to destroy all permanents that have converted, all non-land permanents, should I say, that have converted mana cost equal to number of counters on it. He's ticked it up to 1, so it will not be destroying Chrome Mox anytime soon, and then cast a big 3/3 Endless one.
Yeah, this game's kind of problematic. Chandra not even that good. I mean, it could kill off Endless one, but there's the Mishra's Factory. So if Charles wants to, he can just attack the Chandra and kill it. Or he might even just play a Reality Smasher and get in there. This is a very problematic game for Alessandro, who was on the draw, and I don't think it's a very good matchup, especially if Ratchet Bomb comes in. That is just the perfect answer to Ensnaring Bridge.
Yeah, ticks it up to 3. So even though Alessandro Lippi right now does not have very many cards in hand, if Charles Elatambi wants to be attacking this turn, he can do so relatively easily. He's taken a fair amount of damage from these Ancient Tombs.
Oh, this is so unfortunate. He was actually hoping for Charles to use the Wretched Bomb to get rid of the Ensnaring Bridge, and then have a second copy, but he lost the second copy to Ensnaring Bridge. I'm guessing we're going to see a very quick game here with Alessandro already down to 13. Take 13,
Crikey.
game.
So even though there was a lot of Ancient Tomb damage, Reality Smasher just getting in for so much that it means that Charles Elatambi, he's already a match up for this team. Ben Jones a game up against Carmine Dinello. Adriano Moscato a game up against Christoph Green. But these games falling thick and fast. 37 minutes left on the clock. 37 and change there. And already the first match down. Legacy, when it's quick, it's very quick.
You're not surprised to see that all is dust there from the Eldrazi deck.
So Carmine Dinello here, he's a game down against Ben Jones, looking to square things up here. Carmine on Jund, and up against Grixis on the other side of things here. Kitchen Finks, not necessarily a card that you would expect to see in the main deck, but it's definitely had its time in Jund at various points.
Usually a cyber card these days. Main deck, the Scavenging Ooze gets the edge. 3 copies of Scavenging Ooze in most Jund lists these days, together with 4 Tarmogoyf. Kitchen Finks often comes in from the cyber as a singleton, maybe 2 copies. In matchups like these, very good against Dead Shadow, blocks twice if needed. Also very good against Burn, of course. That doesn't need to be explained. I think in this particular matchup, Junt is a little bit favored. Cards like Abrupt Decay, Fatal Push, are all very good against the Dead Shadow deck, but as we see, Ben Jones did win game 1, so he found his way around all of these removal spells.
If Ben Jones can win just this game, he will advance his team to a 10-2 record, a fantastic place to be this late on Sunday as players start eyeing up a top 8 berth. Though, I guess with 2 losses, any of these teams, as soon as they hit that 3rd loss, they know that they're unlikely to be able to make it into the top 4 of this tournament.
By looking at the standings, I wouldn't be too surprised if one would actually make it in. I see a lot of draws. I saw in 9th and 10th place there was already teams with more than 2 losses. I think it was 2 losses and 2 draws. 1 loss and 2 draws. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see one team make it in with 3 losses.
As things stand, a couple of copies of Obstinate Baloth left over after an Inquisition of Kozilek. So a huge amount of different ways of gaining life for Carmine Dianello here. If Ben Jones is looking to close this game out fast, he might have to think again. Knowing, of course, that Obstinate Baloth there will mean that Ben Jones has a bit of pause if he starts thinking about the likes of Liliana of the Veil. Obstinate Baloth does have a little bit of extra text there that can be problematic with discard in the mix.
Yeah, the worst play I've definitely ever made was turn 1 Thoughtseize, take your Obstinate Ballot. That was not very smart.
I've had my opponent turn 1 Thoughtseize, take your Wiltleaf Liege, a similar sort of situation.
Yeah.
And Ben Jones here gradually improving his mana base. He's got access to plenty of colours here relatively straightforwardly. And once you hit 4 mana, of course, there is the potential for the likes of Cryptic Command in the mix.
Yeah, Cryptic Command, not a card we see all that often in Grixis Dead Shadow. Actually, Grixis Dead Shadow, a deck that operates the best at 2 or 3 lands, doesn't really want to play more than 3 lands because these are very unlikely to be used. Although with Snapcaster Mage and Kolaghan's Command, you sometimes do get to use 5 mana in 1 turn.
So Carmine Dianello here, he's got a relatively straightforward path. He's going to keep sending his creatures in and hoping that that's good enough. Ben Jones at 14 life for now, but being threatened with attacks for 6 here. 3 untapped mana, but ultimately, I guess the one consideration, if we are talking about Death Shadow, is do you want to do big, non-decisive attacks, i.e. ones that don't close the game out? If there are, then just going to be Death Shadows coming down.
Given that Ben Jones still has 5 cards in hand, yeah, you might actually consider not attacking and first deploying lethal damage. I mean, he also has the Raging Ravine. If he doesn't attack next turn, he can attack for 14. That's lethal. By attacking now, he will put Ben Jones low enough, and there's likely to be a removal on one of the 2 creatures. Actually, it is going to be a Snapcaster Mage on Fatal Push. Yeah, this is actually very, very bad news for Carmine Dianello. Ben is probably going to block the Kitchen Finks, kill it in the process, and then Fatal Push after damage on the Obstinate Ballot. Go down to 10, which makes sure that his Dead Shadow are live, and he gets rid of both creatures. Carmine on the other side, how do you say it?
Carmine Dianello.
Carmine. Let's call him Carmine. Kolaghan's Command, he could kill the Snapcaster Mage and save his Kitchen Finks, but that would mean Ben could even play the Fatal Push before damage, take only 2 damage, go down to 12. I don't think that's a good use also, because there's this... Well, he could get back the Scavenging Ooze, so that's actually one of the better targets to get back. Yeah.
So it does kill Snapcaster Mage, gets back Scavenging Ooze.
He does have another forest, so he will be able to play that Scavenging Ooze this turn. But now I'm guessing Ben Jones will just play the Fatal Push before damage, or maybe he just wants his Dead Shadow to be bigger. Actually, this is an interesting question. If you're holding, for example, 2 Dead Shadow, do you take the 4 extra damage here, or do you just go down to 12? I think going down to 8 is the right choice. And it gives the upside also of being able to fatal push the Scavenging Ooze if you want to. Yeah, good play here by Ben Jones. I'm guessing we're going to see a fatal push on the Scavenging Ooze, because that one could grow bigger than the Obstinate Bailout. Yeah.
There
And
we
now
have
he's
it.
at 8, meaning that his Death Shadow will be a 5/5, big enough to block the Raging Ravine, the Obstinate Bailout, and the Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, this was a really interesting set of decisions on both sides, whether or not to make the big attack, how exactly to play through that turn if you're Ben Jones, how to manage your life total. Not trivial, and the sort of thing that navigating this sort of a turn well is where the real differences end up lying in terms of overall record across the end of a 2-day tournament.
Yeah, imagine if Carmine didn't attack, the Snapcaster Mage wouldn't have done anything. The Fatal Push would not have been able to kill any of the creatures. He didn't have to use his Kolaghan's Command. He could have just played the second Obstinate Bailout. It would have been much better for him. Now, because he attacked, he had to kill the Snapcaster Mage, had to use his Kolaghan's Command, and this means he's down. His opponent is down to 8 life, actually going down to 5 life. Maybe even playing another creature this turn. Yep, he's gonna play a very big 8/8 Death Shadow. Carmine really needs to draw a removal spell here. Is that Trun? Yeah, it's Trun. Actually, Trun is a very good blocker against Death Shadow, so not that bad of a draw.
Of course, with that Liliana of the Last Hope in play, there's a little bit of a clock on Carmine just in terms of he kind of wants to be attacking Liliana. He can't really afford for that Planeswalker to get too large here.
He could animate the Ravine and then attack, but then he loses one of his creatures. His opponent would just block the Obstinate Bailout, and then he's left with just 4 lands and the Raging Ravine. I don't think Ben really minds losing his Liliana at that point. But then again, if you give him Liliana, -2, get back my Snapcaster Mage is also pretty bad news.
Yeah, this is a tough set of choices here for Carmine. In spite of the fact that life totals are 25-5, that does not necessarily mean that things are quite as healthy for him as the life totals might denote.
He kind of needed a Bloodbraid Elf into Lightning Bolt here, or a Bloodbraid Elf into Removal Spell. That would have sealed the deal, made sure they go into game 3, but it seems like Ben Jones is pulling ahead here.
Charles Alatembi has already picked up the first win for this team on the right of our screen. Adriano Moscato, a game up for the standard match against Christoph Green, but that's all going to be for naught if Ben Jones is able to put away this exact game that we're watching here. Carmine very carefully considering what he's doing here.
Yeah, both options are pretty bad. Yeah, it seems like he is going for the Raging Ravine attack on Ben Jones. Oh, he's actually... I like this. He recognizes there's a very small chance of him winning the game if it goes much longer. So he knows he needs to top deck something like Lightning Bolt. Puts Ben Jones at 1, and now is just hoping to draw one of his burn spells in the form of Lightning Bolt, or maybe even Bloodbraid Elf into Lightning Bolt. Although this is, if his opponent has something like Stubborn Denial, might actually be problematic. Even that plan gets countered by that play.
So Liliana gets back a Snapcaster Mage. Gigantic Death Shadow in play.
12/12. So
Even a Teemo
luckily he's
Battle
at
Rage
he's
does
at
not mean that
Yeah.
this Death Shadow is lethal.
20. He's at 25.
Well, a little bit of a reprieve for Team Moscato, Danilo and Lippi. Adriano Moscato has won his match against Christoph Green. That means that this is our final match going in this matchup. 27 minutes left on the clock. Ben Jones currently up a game, but whoever wins this match, whoever wins the modern match in our team matchup, will ultimately advance to 10-2. 9-3, definitely risky business for trying to make the final four at this event. Thoughtscour on Alessandro Lippi. Maelstrom, Paulson and Scavenging Ooze going to the bin.
Probably happy about that.
Inquisition of Kozilek sees a swing and a miss times 2. Obstinate Baloth and Throw on the last troll.
Bolt, bolt, bolt. We all want to see game 3, right? Ooh, this is... Now Bloodbraid Elf into removal is also an out for Carmine.
All right, so by my count, there is a happy amount of options here that can get Carmine and DNL out of this.
No trample on Raging Ravine.
It's angry, but it's not trampling, and he very slowly peeks at that last card.
The whammy.
It
Actually,
is Liliana of the Veil. Not quite enough mana to play Liliana and activate that Raging Ravine.
Yeah, and if he plays it, Ben is just going to sacrifice the Snapcaster Mage. So I think the best play he can do there is play either the Obstinate Bela or the Trun. Going for the Obstinate Bela back up to 17. Make sure that he's not dead to 1 removal spell.
Ben Jones, a 12-12 Death Shadow, a 2-1 Snapcaster Mage, and that Liliana of the Last Hope. Teemo Battle Rage now would be kind of interesting. The chat calling for a gut shot from Carmine Daniello. That would definitely get some style points. I think that my favorite in that regard would be a Sudden Shock. Just the ultimate slow roll card.
Damage? Well, he cannot go damage on his tech. Sudden Shock, that doesn't exist anymore. So you attack, no blocks. Sudden Shock.
Yeah. Death Shadow coming on in. Ben Jones is not going to win this game without attacking, so he sends the 12-12 on its way.
Yeah, he could actually take it. Or if he blocks and he plays a Trun next turn, he actually buys himself another draw. If he doesn't block, there might be Bloodbraid Elf, which might actually be an out. But instead he is going to block, it seems. Yeah, I think I like blocking just to generate an extra draw step.
Looks like Carmine agrees. At this point, because all of the other games have finished in our feature match area for these teams, we have 3 heads on 3 trying to figure out the best line of play, and that's kind of the reason that we're seeing the pace of this game slow down a little bit. There are 23 minutes left on the clock, 23 and change, and it looks like they have now finally decided, yeah, you know what, that Obstinate Baloth, it is definitely dying to this Death Shadow, and that's going to have to be good enough.
I like this because he's got the Trun, and the Trun will almost certainly be able to block next turn on the Death Shadow. So this way he keeps himself high enough on 17 life so that he survives next turn, and then he might be able to draw another Lightning Bolt off the top.
I like Street Wraith in this spot. So we have a 3-4 unblockable, thanks to Swamp Walk, on the battlefield.
Surgical Extraction, not what he wanted there. Means he's down to playing the Trun, jumping. Even a land would have been so much better, because that would have been made sure he could regenerate the Trun. Now he just has to play it and jump with it. Yeah, this was one of the worst draw he could get, Surgical Extraction. At least it does something against the Snapcaster Mage, which Ben Jones could still return with Liliana. But that's
yeah, things looking comparatively good here for Ben Jones. Ben Jones on 1 life, of course, he'll have done all this work potentially for nothing if a lightning bolt comes off the top from Carmine Daniello. We don't know just yet whether or not there's any kind of stubborn denial or similar in hand for Ben Jones. He's been keeping his cards relatively close to his chest.
And it just shows how difficult a deck like Death Shadow is to pilot. I mean, there's a lot of games where you have to go down very low and where your opponent can just top deck a lightning bolt or something, and you got to make sure that you navigate these games in order to maximize your winning chances. You have to go down low enough so your dead shadows are big, but you can't go too low so that you lose to a top deck. And there will be a lot of games where you lose to a top deck, to be fair. It's just nothing that can stop it. I mean, if Carmine would have drawn a lightning bolt here, this game would have been over, and we would have gone to game 3.
So a surgical extraction coming from Carmine Daniello here. He is paying mana for it rather than Phyrexian mana. And this does a few things. So it forces the question on if there's a Snapcaster Mage coming from Ben Jones. It also potentially means that Carmine is going to get the information of exactly what Ben Jones is holding. He'll know whether or not he needs to think about playing around the likes of any kind of counter magic. What it also does, though, is it means there's only one card left in hand, making Kolaghan's Command, returning Snapcaster Mage, a viable option for him. Looks like the surgical extraction was on Snapcaster Mage, so effectively that Kolaghan's Command countered the surgical extraction while also clearing out Carmine's hand. Desperate times for Carmine Daniello here.
I'm unsure how much that actually does. I don't know if it wasn't just better to... Oh, there were two Snapcaster Mages. Might have been just better to let that Snapcaster Mage go and start playing some cantrips in order to draw a Stubborn Denial. That doesn't seem like a man who drew Lightning Bolt. And he's at 5, right? Yeah, I think he's dead now. Even with a Raging Ravine blocking one of the Snapcaster Mages.
Let me count the ways, says Charles Alatambi as he sends in. That Street Wraith cannot be blocked, thanks to the Swamp in play for Carmine Daniello. And with a Fatal Push on Raging Ravine, that's enough for Ben Jones to win his match against Carmine Daniello. You can see lots of handshakes. Charles Alatambi was able to win his relatively decisively against Alessandro Lippi, and that means that Alatambi and co do advance to 10-2. They're 10-2. They're in double digits on their wins, and that means that they still very much in the thick of things, playing for top 4 here at this Grand Prix.
I think if they win the next one, they can draw in to top 4.
Quite possibly. We will have more Magic for you very soon indeed. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
Welcome to our city guide for the first double event of the year, Grand Prix Seattle, Standard and Legacy. For this one, we got some sweet shots of things that you get to do around the city while you're there. Let's check them out. Welcome to Seattle, the home of Magic the Gathering and the home of our first double GP this year in April. We're here to give you a look at some of the cool things you can do in town, starting with the Space Naval. Built in 1962 for the World's Fair, it is 600 feet tall and is built to withstand earthquakes, massive winds, and has 25 lightning rods. Because with a building this big, you really want to be sure. Before the elevators were installed, workers commuted to work in a metal bucket. That's absolutely ridiculous. The views are amazing. You can see all of downtown, you can see Mount Rainier and like Elliott Bay and everything, and it actually is, even on what's like kind of a little bit of a foggy day, you can still see everything. It's actually awesome. Major part of the Space Needle is that the entire thing is filled with the intoxicating smell of caramel popcorn, which like, I had to get a bag. I didn't remember doing it. I was just drawn in by it and I had to get it. Oh, it's so good. It's actually really good. Yeah. come to the world's first ever Starbucks and try their special Pike Place roast. This is Pike Place Market, the #1 tourist attraction in Seattle. It's over 100 years old and is easily the best place in the state to see a fish get hurled 3 feet in the air. This is just a stone's throw from the Space Needle and is the Globe Fountain. It's this awesome water show fountain that plays music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's really cool because it's all lit up at night. This is the Artist Playground at the Seattle Center, which is kind of just a playground by day, but it's also a bunch of musical instruments. The swings have wind chimes attached to them. There's an entire pipe piano kind of thing you can play over there. It's actually really cool, and at night the whole thing's super quiet. The playground is also the only thing on our entire trip that has the coveted James seal of approval. You having a good time? And this is GameWorks, a retro-style arcade right next to the convention center where you can play a bunch of old-style arcade games and win carnival tickets. So if you're coming into town to walk away with a giant plushy snake, this is the place to do it.
When you're in Seattle, one of my favorite restaurants to go to is called Wild Ginger. It's not that far from the venue. Get the 7-flavor beef. You're welcome.
This is the Washington State Convention Center, which you'll be pleased to know is right in the middle of the city, which means there's tons of food, hotels, and things to do around here. And it's easy to find because of this giant archway. If you're flying into Seattle-Tacoma, or SeaTac as the locals call it, the best way to get to downtown Seattle is with the Light Link rail straight from the airport. Be it for Standard or for Legacy, we can't wait to see you at GP Seattle.
Hello and welcome back to the Red Zone. I'm Tim Willoughby. This is Moraine Laubert, and we have finished our regular scheduled Magic for the round, but that does not mean to say that we haven't got a little bit more that we can bring you. We have, of course, got a little bit of Time Walk Magic for you, which we are going to get a chance to show you right this moment as we head back down to our feature match area. So we have, in our standard matchup, Damien Buyot is playing Blue-Black Control against Mono-Red from Matteo More. Fabrizio Campanino is on Mono-Green Tron against Anno Jokum with Jund. And then over in Legacy, Red Prison in the hands of Tommaso Badiali against Louis Bachaud's Grixis Pyromancer. Any particular decks that you like the look of here, Moraine?
I would love if we start with Legacy, as always. Once again, the Red Prison deck. We've seen Badiali yesterday, right?
Well, ask and you shall receive. Badiali, he has the early Ancient Tomb. He has a Chrome Mox and an imprint on there. Looks like there may be a response. Is there going to be a Force of Will on this Chrome Mox? No, turns out not. If you're going to have a Force of Will, you might want to save it for this 4-mana spell being cast against you on turn 1. Is this going to be a Chandra on turn 1? It's exactly what we got. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, coming down before Louis Bachaud has even made a single play this game.
Easy game.
Apparently. 2 points of damage going to the head there as Chandra ticks up. The Taxium Probe. What's left? 1 Ensnaring Bridge, 1 City of Traitors.
Perfect. That's the perfect 2-card hand now. Like
yep.
Another land to play, another 2-mana land, and the Ensnaring Bridge so to protect his Chandra. So all he needs to do now is make sure his Chandra is big enough so that it survives Lightning Bolt ×2. Unless, of course, a Force of Will stop the Ensnaring Bridge, which
I think there is now a Force
likely.
of Will available to Louis Bachaud, and I can't imagine that he's going to be able to let everything slide here on the other side of the table. He's already having to look on as Chandra ticks up turn after turn.
And I think it's actually double Lightning Bolt as well next turn, plus another land. So, ooh, look at that. Adding 2 mana. Force of Will. He's going to let the Ensnaring Bridge resolve this way, though. A bit surprised by the counter on the Pia, but maybe 2 Thopters were too much for him. At least he gets rid of the Chandra, but now how is he going to beat the Ensnaring Bridge? Is there anything in the Delver, like a Braid maybe? Main deck?
Quite possibly. Maybe he's just hoping that it's going to work out that Tommaso Badiali is going to have to just tap that Ancient Tomb another 8 times. Seems optimistic, but you never know. Games have been won in stranger ways in Magic the Gathering.
And he also knew about the ensnaring bridge because he played the detection probe, so he must have a plan against it. Maybe his plan is to destroy all the lands from Tommaso. Now another Magus of the Moon. Gotta shut down all of the blue sources. Also gonna shut down the wasteland. Is that the Abrade? It might be as a singleton actually.
Now it's interesting because one of the potential ways that Tommaso could have got himself in trouble was drawing lots of double red spells and not being able to cast them. Now that he's got Magus of the Moon and indeed Blood Moon in play, that's not a concern anymore. Yes, he could get stuck with, I don't know, Chandra's in hand, that sort of thing, but he's not got that many 4-drops in his deck, and at the moment it's not even as if Louis Bachot is even threatening to do any damage by attacking. So this is definitely a tough old spot for Louis to be in.
Yeah, I think this game's pretty much over. Even if he finds a lightning bolt for the Magus of the Moon, there's still the Blood Moon. And if he finds an answer for the Blood Moon, there's still the ensnaring bridge.
And then there's the Trinisphere, which means that now if Louis Bachot is casting spells, he's having to tap all of his lands to do so. It will cost a minimum of 3. Now, Tommaso, he has now got 2 cards in hand. He's gradually building cards back up in hand here as he's not got quite enough mana to deploy them, or indeed maybe the targets that he's looking for.
So that he can attack with the Magus. That's why he's keeping these cards in hand. The 3-mana detection probe, that's when you know you're in trouble. And 2 life.
Yeah.
2 life, 3 mana, only 2 mana.
Yeah,
the
the
2
third
life
mana
counts.
is being paid with 2 life. So for now, Magus the Moon beatdown is what it's all about.
He's at 6. Fury Confluence, 6U. No Force of Will. There is Days, but Days, no islands. Yep, game
That'll
game
do it.
1.
And the beauty of Time Walk Magic, we do get to jump across, and now we get to see Arnaud Jochum against Fabrizio Campanino. So we have Tron on the right of our screen, we have Jund on the left.
Seems like the Italians are going for the unfair decks. The decks that don't play fair Magic. I mean,
The ones with lands that tap for more than 1 mana.
Yeah, something like that. Try to annoy your opponent as much as possible with either Tron or cards like Blood Moon and Ensnaring Bridge. I like that strategy. I wonder if there's a standard version of that deck. Is there a standard deck that like wants your opponent to be annoyed as much as possible?
I mean, there are standard options for lands that tap for multiple mana once you start transforming enchantments. So maybe that's the answer.
And a tough matchup for Arnaud. Jund is not really known for beating up on Tron, especially game 1 when you don't have Fulminator Mages. After Cyber, it gets a little bit better. Fulminator Mage and Bloodbraid help a lot. But before Cyber, cards like Ugin, Karn are very problematic. Yeah, there we see it, -2. Get rid of both of your 2-drops, and now a 5 loyalty Planeswalker left for Arnaud.
Yeah, throwing out Ghostfire left, right, and center. Yes, a Lightning Bolt takes Ugin down to 2 loyalty, but there's going to have to be at least a land to activate Raging Ravine to finish off the big Planeswalker, and that's before we worry about anything else that Fabrizio Campanino has going on. My apologies, actually needed 2 mana to get that, 2 more mana to get the Raging Ravine on top. So Ugin continuing to take 3-point bites out of what Arnaud Jochum has going on here, and is joined by his best buddy, the other colorless Planeswalker, Karn Liberated, who liberates a fatal push from Arnaud Jochum's hand.
I think I would have preferred destroying the Raging Ravine here to protect the Ugin.
Yeah, I can definitely see an argument for that one.
The card in hand, it was certainly not a Bloodbraid Elf, because Arnaud would have played it. It was not a Lightning Bolt, because Arnaud would have played it as well. So what other cards are you worried about? If it was a creature, it would have been played. So there were very few cards left that he could have had that were problematic.
I mean, I guess that with Ghost Quarter untapped, you're not really even that worried about the Raging Ravine, as we see happen exactly there. Ultimately,
good point.
You've got 2 Planeswalkers in play. They're both ticking up. You're probably in pretty safe spot here. Tommaso Badiali having picked up his game 1 win. Fabrizio Campanino doing his best to try and catch up with his teammate, getting the game 1 win. Does so, and we are on to our next little bit of Time Walk Magic, and we get to see a whole bunch of unstable mountains stacked up next to one another for Matteo Mori. He's on mono red. Damien Biot, he is on blue black and has successfully managed to stay alive for now, keep the board clear, but he's on 3 life. That's not going to take too much work for this red deck to get through.
Lightning strike range. There's not a lot of counters actually in the blue-black deck. There's commit, which delays the lightning strike, but I don't think a lot of these blue-black decks, they run main deck negate. There is a flipped search for Ascanta, so he does have the card advantage going. He might actually be able... Oh, there's disallow. It's actually blue-black control. Blue-black control, of course, does run a lot of counter spells in the form of disallow main deck.
Yeah, Damien working out exactly what he wants to do here. The Scarab God kind of sat there, giving him a little wave. Put me in the game, coach.
Pick me, pick me. Nope, discard. And that's when you know the mono-red deck is in trouble. When your blue-black control opponent is starting to discard Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah, Earthshaker Kenra sat at the top of Matteo Mori's graveyard here. Though, if there's a disallow, that can stop the Eternalize ability just as well as just about anything else. And as Kanta, having a little search, finds an Essence Scatter.
Damien kind of hoping to draw more lands. He's also got Moment of Craving to go up to 5 if needed. He just wants more lands so that he can actually start playing threats while still keeping up mana for disallow. I don't think I see a disallow, but I do see a Commit Memory. There's also a Torrential Gearhulk, but Matteo could respond to that with the Scavenger Grounds. So that Torrential Gearhulk actually not that good at this point.
Yeah, Damien Biot happy to play it slow at this point. He's on 3 lives, so he definitely needs to be careful. Matteo Mori, given that he's got 3 damage left to deal, is he better off accumulating lots of cards in hand and potentially having one big turn where he plays a flurry of spells to make counter magic a little harder?
Yeah, I think as long as Damien is not putting up any pressure, I think Matteo should just wait with his lightning. I mean, it's very likely that Damien has at least 1 counter at this point. Especially if he's always keeping up 3 or 4 lands, you can basically be sure that he has at least 1 counter. So your best hope is that Damien finally taps out 5 to play the Scarab God, only keeps up 3 or 4 mana, and then you lightning strike, draw another, and play the second. So actually, this is the turn where Matteo wants to go for it.
So there is the Scarab God. Typically a very, very powerful magic card indeed once it hits the battlefield. In this instance, though, Damien Biot pretty much needs it to do the earth and everything on it because Matteo Mori only has 3 points of damage to deal, and I think that we're likely to see a bit of a flurry of activity from him here. So kicks things off with the Scavenger Grounds. That takes away some of the ability of the Scarab God to cause a problem, exiling the graveyards. Next up, Matteo Mori needs to see what he can do about those final 3 points of life. It would be lovely for him if he can threaten something now, force Damien Biot to tap out entirely and then untap and have another source of damage. That might be a little optimistic. We'll find out soon enough.
Unfortunately, Earthshaker Kenra, it cannot make sure that the Scarab God can block. It's got only 4 power, so the triggered ability won't be enough to make sure the Scarab God can block. He could, of course, hope that Damien is scared and animates the creature himself and then lightning strike. Did he draw a second one? First one going to the dome. He could also Moment of Craving, -2/-2 on his own Scarab God.
That'd be a nice play. I think I kind of like that.
Or disallow, or Commit Memory.
I mean, the issue is that his mana is a little bit tailed here. Taps out entirely to commit that lightning strike. The second lightning strike will do it. The team of More Campanino and Tommaso Badiali picking up all of the game ones, and we get a chance to jump across and see Fabrizio Campanino in his game 2. No early Tron for him, had to play a Forest on one of those early turns, though Relic of Progenitus is kind of nice against various of the things that Jund has going on. It makes those Tarmogoyfs and such a little bit less exciting.
A good flip here for Arnaud, actually. Kolaghan's Command can get rid of the Oblivion Stone by destroying an artifact, and then also let Fabrizio discard another card, as he's only holding 3 more cards. He does have the tower, it seems. Might actually have the Tron, but nothing big to play. Does still have 2 Relic of Progenitus to sacrifice, though.
Bob getting stuck in, I like that. Attacks for 2 with Dark Confidant, having already drawn a card with it for the turn. Plays that Kolaghan's Command that you mentioned there, Moraine. Forces a discard from Campanino. Given that he already has 1 Relic of Progenitus, I can definitely see the appeal of discarding the second. Instead, goes for Urza's Mine. Already 1 Urza's Mine in play. And the target for the Relic of Progenitus, very much Arnaud Jochum right now, trying to just limit that graveyard a little bit. Kicking things off with an Ancient Stirrings. Could really do with finding one of those big payoff cards for having the full Urzatron. Sees a couple of copies of Thragtusk, can't fetch them. Instead has to just take a Chromatic Star here. The Star will, of course, allow him to dig a little deeper. As Tron decks do, they magically find ways of generating quite a lot of additional card drawing with their various trinkets.
Yeah, it's crazy how consistent the deck actually draws one of his big threats. It doesn't have that many, but there's the likes of Ancient Stirrings. There's so many spheres and stars and Relic of Progenitus that you always get to sacrifice basically for free, because you get 7 mana once you hit the Tron. So the biggest issue of the deck is finding the Tron. Once it has the Tron, you usually draw one of the big cards naturally.
And here is Thragtusk. Not the biggest of threats in the deck, but you know what? The extra life, very welcome. And if Thragtusk does get killed off, that's a beast token. So 2 cards in 1 in a way. And the 5/3 will be able to pressure Arnaud Jochum's life total relatively well. Arnaud Jochum here needs to try and get something going.
Yeah, this is tough. He needs to pressure Fabrizio, because he cannot let him just draw more cards. He know one way or another his opponent will find a big Ulamog or Karn or something. This is actually a good start. He could hold his opponent from the complete Tron, destroying the tower or whatever he likes
I think I would destroy the mine here, because there's already been 1 mine discarded and indeed exiled, and he does go with that one, essentially saying, I'm going to play the odds here. I think that you're less likely to draw into more mines than anything else. We'll find out whether or not that works out well for him or not soon enough. Suddenly just 3 mana available to Fabrizio Campanino as he plays another Ancient Stirrings, looking to reassemble his 3-part combo of Urza's Mine, Urza's Tower and Urza's Power Plant, and does find another one.
Rob.
It's the only way it's going to happen. You can see the reaction from Arnaud there. I think that he did make the right decision. It was just unfortunate how things played out for him there. And immediately back up to 7 mana off 3 lands. Casts and uses Relic of Progenitus. Does not want to see that Fulminating Mage get returned with a Kolaghan's Command or anything of that stripe. Also, would not mind an extra card in hand.
It gets in for 5 now. Arnaud is at 12 with Dark Confidant. Luckily, Arnaud flips another land, just as last turn. But there's still the Thragtusk, which he needs to kill twice. And every big Planeswalker from Fabrizio will spell trouble for Arnaud.
Now this is the point where he really needs to kind of generate a little bit of card advantage while dealing with what's got going on. So if he could get, say, Bloodbraid Elf into a removal spell, that would be a fantastic position for him to be in, just to try and claw something back here in this game, which at the moment it seems to be very much coming up Campanino. Thoughtseize is a swing and a miss. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Arnaud here. The fact that he's missed does mean that there's no gas in Fabrizio Campanino's hand right now, but all that discard can do nothing about the top card of the Italian's deck.
Yeah, and Fabrizio is holding Sanctum of Ugin, so one Planeswalker means actually two Planeswalkers the next turn. So as far as it's only lands, this is probably the worst land Fabrizio could be holding. I think we're going to see a Bloodbraid Elf, and Arnaud really hoping to hit once again another Fulminator Mage. That could actually seal the deal, make sure that Tron is gone again. Inquisition of Kozilek, of course, one of the worst hits right there. I think he cannot even attack. I mean, he cannot take 5 damage once again. Yeah, I think I like attacking with Dark Confidant and blocking the Traktusk with the Bloodbraid Elf.
Rough old spot with Fabrizio Campanino's life total still at 21 even after that attack.
Expedition map, let's see if Fabrizio has the Singleton Horizon Canopy in his deck. He's going to attack with the Traktusk, generate 3-3.
The 3-3 beast still plenty big enough to tussle with Dark Confidant. Might as well play that Sanctum of Ugin and indeed Expedition map. Alright, what's getting flipped off Dark Confidant this time? It's another land. So Arnaud Jochum has been relatively fortunate with his Dark Confidant flips these last few turns. His life total not descending quite as quickly as it might otherwise, but 21 damage is a big ask for him before the Tron deck finds anything scary.
So even something like Walking Ballista would be very problematic now. There's still the Ancient Stirrings, another Traktusk would spell trouble.
I mean, essentially anything that's not a land is a pretty great draw for Fabrizio Campanino here.
Yeah, Sylvan Scrying's not the best draw either. I wonder, guessing since he doesn't sacrifice the Expedition map, I'm guessing he doesn't play the Singleton Horizon Canopy, because he would have certainly searched for. Uh-oh. That's a lot of mana. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a 5/5 Walking Ballista.
And
Sanctum of Ugin. At least there's a Thoughtseize. But the Walking Ballista is a problem. It can kill both the Dark Confidant and the Liliana.
yes, I mean otherwise Liliana would have just been able to force the discard of this Wormcoil Engine regardless.
Yeah, at least Arnaud is still holding 8 Thoughtseize. But he will go down to 7. With 3 pings from Walking Ballista, that's only 4.
I mean, Walking Ballista can get pumped up and attack and potentially get even more damage through depending on how low Arnaud chooses to tap down here on his turn, depending on what he's drawn.
So he needs both a removal spell and a discard spell. Liliana is the removal spell he needs.
Well, Liliana is exactly what he has.
I'm guessing Fabrizio is going to kill Liliana and shoot Arnaud for 2. Arnaud down to 7. Down to 5 with the Thoughtseize. Gets rid of the Wormcoil Engine. And now we're back at saying go. I don't think he can afford to play the Dark Confidant. Oh, look at that. What a draw from Fabrizio.
Ugin was just waiting. He was just waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
Came along, did not even need to worry about dealing with permanents on the board, simply ticks up to a full 9 loyalty. Even if Arnaud Jochum had enough mana to be able to activate both those Raging Ravines, the big Spirit Dragon would be safe, at least for now. As things stand, Arnaud Jochum on 1 life, facing down Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Problem town, population Arnaud.
Yeah. Maelstrom Pulse. Bloodbraid Elf doesn't do it. I think it's down to Maelstrom Pulse.
And he draws that card very slowly indeed. Desperately needs for it to be something great. It is not. All that he has is a handshake and commiserations alongside his teammates who are going to have to find ways of getting things going here. Now we get a chance to jump across to Matteo More once again against Damien Biot. And this seems hauntingly familiar. 3 life for Damien. Matteo More still on a full 20. Admittedly, this time there are a few more permanents on the battlefield than simply lands, which is where we joined it last time round. But Matteo Mori, again, not too much additional work to achieve here in order to close out this game.
PNLR, sacrifice the top tier, put your opponent at 1, or do you keep around the top tier? Damien Biot has 1 card in hand. The top tier is lethal next turn because you can pump it twice. I think I like keeping the top tier around to present lethal next turn. With only 1 card in hand, the Search for Azcanta is not going to flip. Yeah, I like the go here. Putting your opponent at 1 is not even that big of a deal. Lightning Strike deals 3. Oh wow, there's also Daredevil. Is this a scoop?
It looks
I
like it.
think the Badiali actually won.
Here's what's happening. Yeah, the other 2 matches were completed, so Damien didn't even need to figure out if there was a way that he could stay alive. We do have the team of More, Campanino and Badiali victorious in that our Time Warp match here from MTG Red Zone. We are getting perilously close, Moraine, to the point where it is the full-on cut where players are either going to make it into this Final Four or simply lose out and have to watch from the bleachers for the final rounds of our feature matches. We do hope that you get a chance to hang around and watch those matches. We'll be back with more Magic soon enough, but first, these messages.
Celebrate 25 years of Magic with Masters 25. Featuring cards from all 25 years of Magic's history, Masters 25 is filled with the best of the best. With over 30 pieces of new Magic art and a foil card in every booster, make sure to pick up your box on March 16th. Up your game with Ultra Pro Magic the Gathering accessories. Find the best Magic art on card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and more. Visit ultrapro.com to learn more and find a retailer near you.
Welcome back to the tournament floor here at GP Madrid, ladies and gentlemen. You're in the booth with me, Riley Knight, and him, Rafael Levy. Now, we have had a little bit of a delay with getting our players seated and ready to go for the next tournament, so we will get the chance now to talk about some modern decks. We're going to line up some of these, some of the decks that are really doing very well in the format at the moment. Raf, is there any deck in particular that you've had your own? I know Jund is something that has done work recently. You're not a fan of the archetype?
I'm not a big fan of Jund. It's been present in this tournament because a lot of teams just opted for that deck, and that's why you will see, we have seen a lot of them on display.
Jund is a deck that typically is generally favoured against Bogles, which has really been putting up the numbers recently, Raf, but there's been some new technology in the form of Leyline of Sanctity that means that all of a sudden Bogles has sort of flipped the matchup on its head. So
one of the key cards against Bogles is Liliana of the Veil, and it's not doing much against Leyline of Sanctity. And Dmitry Budakov played 4 of them in his main deck at the Mox about last week or 2 weeks ago, and he beat Steve Rubin in the finals of the tournament with the Leyline of Sanctity.
4 Leyline of Sanctity in the main is no joke. It shuts down so many decks from Jund to Burn to even Storm can have a difficult time in game 1 against this card. It really does have great, a great amount of worth across the modern format more generally. But I know that Bogles is a very polarizing, very divisive deck. There are those who are very happy that it's once again putting up the numbers, and others who obviously can't stand the sight of it. But anyway you slice it, this deck is here to stay, given almost back-to-back repeat performance at the top
the
levels.
GP, yeah. He won a GP a couple of weeks back. I haven't seen a Bogles deck here in Madrid.
No,
we
weekend. Haven't seen them. I'm sure they've come and people have come and registered them, but we haven't seen them in the feature match area throughout the weekend just yet. Anyway, there are plenty of other decks to, of course, get across in Standard, and this is the one that we were talking about before, or in Modern, I should say. This one we were talking about before. It's Jund. It's back on the menu, boys, and it's something that players need to be ready to face off. The classic 55% deck, Raf.
I think people like it now because Bloodbraid Elf, they want to play their Bloodbraid Elf now. But I think it's going to go down a little bit within the next couple of weeks, because it's not going to be new anymore, and they're going to be new cards. And well, we've seen this deck for the last, I don't know, 10 years? Maybe not 10 years, but for quite a long time.
I mean, people have attempted to make Jund work for the last 5 years without Bloodbraid Elf, and it has in different forms been around, but Abzan was more preferred, I suppose you could say, as the rock deck of choice, but Bloodbraid Elf has turned that completely on its head now. It's a fantastic value engine. It's a great way to apply pressure, pressuring planeswalkers, and always providing, effectively, a 2-for-1, if not in a real sense, at least in a virtual one. And Kolaghan's Command, one of the best cards that you can, of course, cascade into there with a Bloodbraid Elf. Plenty of other decks, of course, to have a look at as players get seated. Grixis Control, featuring, of course, well, it's all about that Jace, isn't it, here? And Jace the Mind Sculptor, touted as, a card that was threatening to completely upturn Modern, everything we knew about the format. It hasn't happened, Raf.
No, it only appears in a couple of decks, in a Grixis Control, in a Blue-White Control. And it feels like these decks are not very well represented today. And neither were they at the Mox Championship. There were a few Jace decks, but not as many as one would have thought.
The thing about Jace is, I mean, the reason that we haven't seen Jace really start chucking punches about in Modern so far is because the right shell for this guy just doesn't yet exist. And I think, Mike Sigrist wrote about this on Channel Fireball. He talked about Jace is more of a proactive threat and not such of a reactive planeswalker that requires a lot of protection. Very fragile fellow there. And given the preponderance of the overwhelming popularity of cards like Lightning Bolt, Jace the Mind Sculptor is not a safe investment on turn 4.
Yeah, for 4 mana, it basically scries or Fate Seal for 1, but mostly scries for 1. So probably not the best thing to play on an empty board. For example, in a White-Blue Control, when I was trying to build a new version of Blue-White Control, I was considering Jace instead of Gideon. But then Gideon is so good at changing the tide of the game. You put a creature, it's a threat right away, it's hard to kill. Jace, on the other hand, is pretty easy to kill, and for Brainstorm for 4 mana is not that good. On an empty board with your opponent having nothing, it's great. It's very hard to overcome, but otherwise it's hard to set up.
I think the problem is that we haven't found the best way to defend Jace. Because as a fragile little fellow there, he needs something that is going to keep him on the board for the turns after you cut. Untapping with the Jace is huge, but tapping out on turn 4 to play a sorcery speed threat that doesn't win the game immediately is going to be risky business sometimes here. We've got another Jace deck to have a look at as well, because this is the deck that I wanted to discuss in terms of being a new approach to defending Jace, playing creatures. Now, this is one of the weirdest decks you're likely to see. Bant Tradebinder here, Bant Control as people are calling it. It has everything from the ramp elements of Secure Tribe Elder, value engines like Courser of Crewfix, and then 3 copies of Time Warp just out of nowhere as well, Raph. But what I want to point out about this deck is that curving something like a Courser of Crewfix into a Jace is a much stronger play when you want to keep that Jace around, a nice defensive blocker. Another avenue to explore, I think, with Jace is Lingering Souls. An Esper control deck which can curve Lingering Souls into Jace, I think, is going to be huge. But this is just territory we haven't fully explored yet, Raph.
I like in this deck, I really like one thing. It's the brainstorm effect of Jace with Courser.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So you play Courser on turn 3, then you Jace, then you set up your next few draws. So if Courser sticks around, you're going to get land on top. So and also with Temporal Mastery, it's not in this deck. This deck uses Time Warp, but I've seen versions of like Time Warp decks.
Miracle effects.
Miracle effects,
yeah. And something I think is as we bring it back here to the booth, something that we can talk about further here with Guillaume Matignon, is that this deck looks pretty unpolished. I have to say, it looks like a deck that needs a little bit more work, needs a few more hours put into its construction, its composition. Or maybe Matignon's just broke it first time. I don't know. We're going to find out before very much longer, I would imagine. But right now, it's time to head down to the feature match area. We do have players ready to go now for our next round here on MTG Red Zone. So let's get to it. The next round of GP Madrid is coming at you, Cleopatra. Let's get to it. Hello, my friends, and welcome to continued coverage of GP Madrid. You're in the booth with me, it's Riley Knight, and alongside me, the Hall of Famer, Raphael Levy. You're watching MTG Red Zone, and we're going to kick things off with some modern by the look of things. Yep, we're going to stick with this table here between Fabrizio Campanino and Andreas Peterson. Now it looks like we've got a Scapeshift deck versus a Tron deck. Raph, a classic big mana mirror match.
Indeed. So on the right side, a deck that tries to have 7 lands in play in order to cast Scapeshift and deal about 18 to 21 damage to their opponent. On the left side, you have the Tron deck that tries to have 3 lands on the board, not 7.
No, they still want 7 mana, but they get it in a different way.
They still get 7 mana to cast a Karn or Wurmcoil Engine to control the board and the game.
So it looks like Campanino here is, with the help of an Expedition map, he's found his turn 3 Tron. So we're going to see what he can bring to bear on the 3rd turn of this game. Peterson's deck, the Scapeshift deck, a touch slower than much of the explosivity of the Tron decks, but the consistency of Scapeshift really can't be overstated. Every card in the deck essentially cheats out an extra land. But that doesn't really matter when you're facing down a Karn Liberated on turn number 3. And Raph, as I've mentioned so many times, they always have Karn.
On turn 3.
They always have it.
I think this matchup favors the Tron player. Scapeshift does not really have any way to interact with Tron in the first couple of turns. So that means the Tron player, if with a normal draw, will have access to 7 mana at least on turn 4.
Bit of shortcutting going on here as we see a Secure Tribe Elder being sacked in the end step, and during the upkeep, this Search for Tomorrow is going to resolve anyway. So this means that Peterson just shortcutting with the blessing of his opponent Campanino here to get those lands out nice and quickly. But as you're saying, Raph, it's tricky for the Scapeshift deck to really go up against the really powerful stuff that Tron can do.
The first activation of Karn will take care of a land, and that basically gains a turn for the Tron player, because Scapeshift needs the 7 lands, and against Tron, if they want to win right away, they need 8, because Tron is not taking any damage from their lands.
Now,
unless they play Bloodbraid Elf.
Here's a huge play, because Andreas Peterson has come with a very innovative approach to Scapeshift, playing Bloodbraid Elf. He's not the only player to be doing this weekend, but Bloodbraid Elf essentially guarantees... Ooh. Oh, and a huge hit here as well means that Bloodbraid Elf can continue to hustle and bustle and get up against Campanino's life total. But Bloodbraid Elf, I really like it in Scapeshift, and I'll tell you why. You will play it so much more of the time, Raf Levy, on turn number 3.
That's true, because you have so many ways to ramp into 4 mana.
And it is one of these cards that applies early pressure, which Scapeshift isn't very good at doing, in addition to almost always hitting a Farseek effect. I mean, it hits a Lightning Bolt just here, sometimes a Sweltering Suns, which is obviously a great hit as well. But
I think Andrea would have liked a Farseek more than a Lightning Bolt. That looked impressive on that looked impressive.
Cool,
kill the Karn, but
yeah.
like a Farseek would have been much better here.
I think you would have preferred the extra land rather than the extra 3 damage. But the Bloodbraid Elf, I mean, what happens so often with Scapeshift in the late game is that its top decks are just magnificent, right?
But have you seen Fabrizio's hand?
What's in Fabrizio's
I think he has two Ulamog.
Oh dear. Oh no. So he's just gone and searched another tower.
While Andreas is going to look for a few lands, next turn is Ulamog time.
The breakfast buffet is going to open up and the Ceaseless Hunger will have his way.
And the turn after would be another Ulamog. So
he's a Wormcoil just to get the engines revving here.
And to get over...
I'll back up over 18.
Yeah, over 18.
Yep.
So Andreas will need 8 lands.
So Peterson now. It's going to be Secure Tribe Elder, another rampant growth type effect out of this deck. And this it goes back to what I was saying about its top decks in the late game, if it ever gets there. If it doesn't need the Scapeshift to win, effectively every card, more or less off the top, is going to be a Lightning Bolt once Valakut is online, because it's either a Secure Tribe Elder effect or just a land.
Unless Ulamog hits the battlefield.
It's going to be a big problem here for Peterson to overcome as Wormcoil gets in for 6.
And the Secure Tribe Elder was actually a pretty good draw here, because he can deny the life gain from the Wormcoil engine, from the lifelink.
So the Wormcoil engine will do 0 damage, even though it has been it has nothing blocking it anymore. So that means that Campanino will stay at 17, and Peterson can go and get another mountain.
And this is...
but this is going to be very troublesome here.
Yeah. Getting to 7 or 8 mana is going to be impossible.
And now Peterson recognizes with Ulamog basically uncontested on this battlefield, the jig is up. So Campanino with a relatively easy win there. You have to say that Karn was dealt with, of course, thanks to the Bloodbraid Elf, but ultimately the Ceaseless Hunger good enough to get there.
So even if he didn't hit the lands at this point, if it just killed exile 2 random cards, the problem is when Ulamog attacks, it exiles 20 cards. And in these 20 cards, there is most likely a lot of mountains.
A lot of mountains going to be eaten
and the Scapeshift player needs the mountains to actually win the game. He needs a lot of mountains, at least 5 or 6 when he resolves Scapeshift. So he won't actually have enough mountains in the deck to win.
Over to Legacy now with Tommaso Badiali against Thomas Enervoldsen here. We've got the Thomas Mirror match, and it looks like we've got double moons across the sky. How beautiful. What a sight to see here as Badiali is mooning Thomas Enervoldsen right out of this game. Although with the Deathrite Shamans, of course, this is going to be less punishing than it would be in other situations.
So we've seen last round the Red Prison deck playing in Sildrazi and being pinged out of the game by Endbringer. So Ensnaring Bridge is good, keeps creatures from attacking, but it doesn't keep the creature from dealing damage or making you lose life.
So 3 mana for a Brainstorm here, thanks to that Trinisphere. Trinisphere really so punishing from any of these Delver Deathrite decks that, I mean, as we said, just have a critical mass of 1-drops or free spells.
Tommaso has a pretty good answer to these Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah.
In the form of a Fiery Conclusion.
Oh, Fiery Conclusion, a nice one.
So maybe playing the 3rd one was probably a little greedy.
Well, he's a 3rd Blood Moon now.
Well, they're not going anywhere. It's just he plays them to not have to keep a card in his hand.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise the
Deathrites
could attack.
Yep. To keep the elves from attacking.
So a Snapcaster Mage now, of course, going to cost 3 mana as usual, and then another 3 mana here.
Bolt.
For
Kolaghan's Command.
Very nice, and this means that the Deathrites are on beatdown duty, and Badiali is down to 12. No, 13, I should say. Excuse me.
So this Red Prison deck is relying on their opponents to not have any way to destroy their bridges.
And it looks like Enervoldsen had exactly that. And now we have, wow, look at this, the Hill Giant mode on, the Grey Ogre mode on Simian Spirit Guide, but another Lightning Bolt to take care of that, and more attacks here for Enervoldsen. There looks like there's been a breakout in cell block 5 because this prison deck is not holding its water here.
I think they could play this match a million times. That would be very hard to win if Blood Moon doesn't hit the battlefield on turn 1.
Yeah.
Because Deathrite Shaman is such a problem for that prison. It gives the mana, the colored mana, that the decks, the 4 or 5 color decks need to play, and just nullifies the Blood Moon.
And Enevoldsen critically having that swamp there to be able to activate Deathrite Shaman without lands in the bin means that he's going to take it out in game number 1 there. A very tidy victory for Enevoldsen, who seemed to be really under the gun. Blood Moon, Ensnaring Bridge, what have you, but he kept a cool head about him, and at the end of the day, rewarded for it here, Raphael Levy.
Well, the Danes are unstoppable. They won the last GP in Lyon, the Team GP. Christopher Larsen got replaced for this one.
Mm-hmm.
But the core of the team, Thomas Enevoldsen and Michael Bonde, are still there.
Well, Andreas Petersen's been a very worthy sub for the Danish Juggernaut, and he's come in playing Titan Shift, and of course you can see Enevoldsen there on 4-color mid-range, or check pile as it's known a lot of the time. Michael Bonde on blue-black mid-range, certainly one of the decks of the tournament. Blue-black control also getting it done this weekend. But their opponents, Matteo Mora, Fabrizio Campanino, and Tommaso Bardiali. We've already seen the Prison deck and the Mono Green Tron, Vegan Tron, because it's green and everyone hates it, and of course Mono Red in the hands of Matteo Mora. So this is how things look on our feature match area, but we can also have a look at the standings as well and see how things are going. Here are the Danes. You said they're unstoppable,
Yeah.
Raph, and it's an accurate portrayal of how things are going.
I think are they in already?
Are they
No,
locked
unless
up?
no, they're not, because they have 2 more rounds to play.
Mhm.
If they lose twice, they might not be in, but it looks like it.
So these guys here, of course, flanked by their opponents, More, Campanino, Badali. And you can see Mengucci, Calcano, and Dominguez. They are still at X and 2. They're at 10 and 2 after, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll believe it, they started this
1 and 2.
tournament at 1 and 2. So they are just winning. They've obviously popped on the T-Pain, and all they do is win, 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 baby, win. And they are heading towards the top of the tables. And as we continue down the standings, you can see that people like Joel Larsen still alive and kicking here, but further down towards the place from places 11 to 20, still some big names up and about. You can see there Marcio Carvalho, Antonio Del Moral Leon, and a few other people as well who are still flying the flag. Of course, Martin Muller, Lucas Blohon, these guys as well, but these guys are going to have a very tough time to get anywhere near our top 4. As we head back down to the feature match area, Tommaso Bardiali and Thomas Enevoldsen playing Legacy.
So from my quick calculations, I think the Danes are in.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, 2 losses and a draw should make it. With so many draws, I think from the quick view ahead of the standings, I think they're in.
Well, this is something to touch upon, Raph, maybe something that we could update the viewers on. If you've just joined us, certainly welcome, by all means welcome. It's great to have you along. But this tournament, we've actually seen a surprising number of unintentional draws. Now, this means that a number of points just fall into the nether, really, because instead of rewarding players with 3 points, only 2 points get given, one to each side, which means that getting into the top 4 with an X2-1 record is much more achievable.
It's been a long time since we've seen so many teams that are able to make it with 2 losses in the draw. But it might be like most of the teams will make it at 2 losses in the draw. If they lose twice, it's possible that all 4 teams
could still get in. We may already
are
have
at X2-1.
We may already have our top 4 assembled. Jeez, we'll see how things go there. All of these tables right now, unfortunately, are shuffling up and sideboarding, so we don't have any live magic to bring you. But of course, as soon as play begins, we will be right across it, ladies and gentlemen. So don't even worry about that. You are watching GP Madrid. You're in the booth with me. It's Riley Knight, and him. It's Raphael Levy, the French Hall of Famer. It's fantastic to have your company this weekend, and as you can see, we're going to have shuffle cam on all 3 tables right now. There we go. Look at that. The very finest, ladies and gentlemen, in shuffling, sideboarding, mulliganing, and dealing. But we're going to settle things down here on our Legacy table and get things going for game number 2 between Tommaso Bardiali on Red Prison and Thomas Enevoldsen on 4-color check pile. We'll see how things go here, because Enevoldsen winning game number 1. He'll be looking to double down and take out the second game as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you for confirming that verbally as well as nodding at me. That's helpful.
This is my insight on this shuffling sequence.
Looks like Bardiali's gone for the 10-pile shuffle here, We're going to head instead to Modern here. I know fans of the Pile Shuffle around the world will be disappointed to actually see some real-life Magic going on, but that's the price you've got to pay. Looks like a nice start for Peterson here with a Farseek on turn number 2, but Campanino has got a hand with, well, at least a couple of ways for him to start assembling that Tron. I know he's going to be looking for that turn 3 Khan once again, Raf.
So a green mana from the Chromatic Star will enable Fabrizio to find a second piece of the Tron, if there is one.
Ancient Stirrings here, cast off
And
that Chromatic
there is
Chromatic
none.
Star.
But there's a Ghost Quarter.
So the big whiff here for Campanino when he's looking for Tron pieces. This is unusual, really. Ancient Stirrings is, I mean, it's just so good.
But there's not going to be a card on turn 3.
No turn 3 can't, but I mean, can we talk about Ancient Stirrings for just
We
a moment?
can,
Because
we
this
can.
card is just
This-
busto. It is ridiculous.
In this deck, it does everything you want it to do.
It offers
gets you the count. It gets you the. It helps you to align the 3 pieces you need, and it gets you the threat you want.
It just offers an effect that we don't see in Magic anymore at this level. We don't see Ponders, Preordains, anything else like this, and this card is just better in Tron. I mean, fine. Very, very constricted on deck building when you're wanting to get the most out of Ancient Stirrings, but this card in Tron is just busted. It's just insane. Here's a Bloodbraid Elf now for Peterson. This is the latest innovation out of our Scapeshift deck, and he's just flipped a
what card?
spicy one off the top here.
Oh, what is this card?
This is a Beast Within.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I didn't recognize the picture, but that's a pretty good card.
Yeah, nice way to invalidate this this Tron sequencing here for Peterson, but not at its best, certainly. Campanino is obviously already doubling up on Tron lands, and turning one of them into a 3/3 is no joke. And look at that, Peterson attacks into the 3/3.
So that was
with his
basically a
Bloodbraid
4-mana demolish.
Yeah.
On the land.
Sure. Which is still fine against Tron, especially when your mana isn't being disrupted.
Not getting the second piece of the Tron is actually working out great for Fabrizio, because, well, none of the pieces got destroyed in that way.
Yeah, he didn't lose too much by it, just set back a turn.
Oh, he drew a mine, and now he will have the Tron on turn 5 because he got the land destroyed.
Peterson now. He's going to search for tomorrow by the look of things. Oh, no.
No,
Instead,
natural
it
thing.
isn't.
So we will
okay.
not.
Very good. All
We will
right,
not
Peterson.
naturally have it.
This is not something we see out of Scapeshift. This is not an interactive deck. This is a very, very linear way of winning games of Magic. But all of a sudden, all the interaction that Peterson has been tussling with here has really put him in the driver's seat.
Yeah, the game one of Tron against Scapeshift, I would say would lean towards the Tron, as I said before. But game 2, when there's actually some interaction, it's probably evens up a little bit.
Really nice one here for Peterson as he continues to push forward. So here is the mine, as you said before.
Oh, Warping Well in the Fabrizio's hand. So he will be able to counter, well, not a Primeval Titan.
Not quite, no, but Warping Whale is a nice one against, of course, Scapeshift. Now, Primeval Titan cast off the Summoner's Pact here. Peterson is pulling further and further ahead.
That's a very good play. Being able to get two Valakut here will allow him to deal a lot of damage next turn with Primeval Titan.
Yep, already enough mountains in play, or there will be very shortly at least, and double Valakut means that, of course, Peterson is drawing live off the top of his deck, and an important point to note here is just how the Scapeshift deck goes into the late game. The fact that almost all of the cards are live off the top of their library. Of course, they could always draw the 2 forests, but otherwise, it's just going to be 6 damage, double Lightning Bolt off the top every time for Peterson here.
So do we have Tron yet? No. Is there another Steerings?
Campanino.
No, we don't have another Steering.
Floating off the spear,
No,
and he's going to
that's-
pack him
yeah.
up. Yep, a sensible thing to do because, of course, in slams the Titan for 6. It can go and get some more lands, maybe dome him for...
That was 18 damage this turn.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
just simple as that.
So he would fetch 2 more mountains,
Mhm.
trigger 4 times.
Double Valakut, double Mountain Trigger. Yep,
Yeah,
get it
and
done.
6
There we go.
damage.
Easy as that. Campanino reads the writing on the wall. He's obviously maths is a little bit quicker than mine, unsurprisingly, I would say. And they even up here. Andreas Peterson 1-1 against Fabrizio Campanino. Looks like Matteo Mora and Michael Bonder are still battling it out after Mora wins against Bonder with his mono red deck. Blue-black certainly has been the talk of the tournament from a standard perspective, however, Raf, and we'll, of course, fans of Michael Bonder will be hoping that the deck deals him out the cards that he needs. Right now, however, it's back to Legacy. We've got Badiali on red prison, Enevoldsen on 4-color check pile. Double Snapcaster dueling off against
Leyline of the Void.
Leyline of the Void here. Here's
Trying
a
to
preordained.
see how that happened. What's exile, do you think? Mox and no.
We've got a City of Traders.
Everything in Thomas's graveyard is exiled. Is that what's?
We'll
We'll know very soon.
I would imagine so, as soon as that preordain hits the bin. But it looks like
All right.
Badiali in his graveyard, not that it's particularly relevant, has an
All right.
ensnaring bridge, City of Traders. It's like is that a Blood Moon down the bottom there from the dark? And it looks like, yes, Enevoldsen's entire exile zone is
this card is
represented there.
very problematic for Tomaso's deck. Kalagan's command is just huge.
It's
Just having a way to destroy an artifact in the main and a little more ways to do that after board, that's just big.
Chandra's not doing too well here. Under siege from these Snapcaster mages. And it's a Simian Spirit Guide off the top. And once again, we're seeing the Grey Ogre mode activated. I've never seen this happen so many times in a single game.
That's one of the win conditions of the Red Prison deck, because it has so few ways to actually win the game with 4 Blood Moons, and you see them attacking with Magus of the Moon. That's one of the win conditions of the deck, and Magus of the Moon is just as big as the Simian Spirit Guide. It's a 2/2 for 3. When your opponent can't cast any spell, when your opponent can't attack, can't do anything just wins the game.
Well, right now, a Murderous Cut is going to take care of that Simian Spirit Guide. We've got a Chalice for 1 now. And Volsen's going to have to get through that. But his Snapcasters are on beatdown mode. And they're doing very well indeed. Tussling with that Chandra, getting her off the battlefield.
Well, they can't do much more against Leyline of the Void. They can't flashback anything.
No,
They're
just the old Ambush Viper.
Viper without that touch.
Just Ambush Vipers versus Grey Ogres here. But a Baleful Strix is a nice one. Keeps the cards flowing here for Enevoldsen. And he's going to get in for another 4.
I think Tommaso really wants a Blood Moon here, just to make sure there's no blue spell played. Well, except for Force of Will. That does not really care about Blood Moon.
No, and Enevoldsen has aggressively chased out his basics here. He's got a swamp, he's got a plane, got an island on the battlefield here.
So no, even Blood Moon don't actually.
That's not going to be the backbreaker.
Yeah.
No. I mean, it prevents things like Leovold coming down as of yet, but still. No forests in the deck for Enevoldsen, so Blood Moon would still be of some use in shutting off those green cards.
When you start falling behind with the Red Prison deck, it's very hard to come back.
Yeah, you need that Blood Moon on turn number 1.
And the thing is, you need to deal with all the threats on board, and you don't really have the tools to do that.
So here's here's an answer at least.
Fallout.
Yeah, gee, that's huge.
Never mind. I stand corrected.
Tiny little 4-for-1 there. A nice way for Badiali to get his snoot back above water here. And obviously not being able to be countered is huge in a deck in a format overrun by Force of Will, and that's just that's a tidy little cleanup package there. Not quite a 4-for-1, of course, because the Strixes replace themselves. But Jace the Mind Sculptor is a great way here for Enevoldsen to start to recoup some of that lost advantage. Brainstorm.
In a way, that Red Prison deck reminds me of Lantern in Modern. If you manage to lock out the game, it's hard for your opponent to come back if he doesn't have the answers. If he has answers in his deck or a way to find them, it gets really hard for you.
Back to Badiali now, who is facing off against an active Jace the Mind Sculptor here.
That's going to be very hard to deal with the Jace. Does he have any answer to this card? He definitely cannot have Pithing Needle because there's a Chalice for 1.
That's not going to get the job done.
And the Chalice player is getting
in Fiery Confluence as a 4-of
he's getting
nice
lanterned out. His fate is being sealed.
And now it's a Baleful Strix and Enevoldsen ships here. Badiali off the top. It's a Chandra. All right. She's going to be able to pressure Jace. And the Baleful Strix is not powerful enough to take Chandra down completely here. So Badiali takes 2 to power out that Chandra with the Ancient Tomb here. Badiali's not dead in the water to the Jace, however. Other answers on top of this this Chandra that's just been forced. Looks like Enevoldsen has 2 exile zones.
It's super
he's
exiled.
double exiled.
This one's exiled. The Force of Will is exiled, but the Preordain is like super exiled.
And so now a Kolaghan's command is going to take care of that Chalice of the Void. Enevoldson firing on all cylinders here. Untaps. Jace, Baleful Strix. Fate Seal U. Let's have a look.
And it's so
when it stays on top, that's the worst feeling in the world.
it's so unlikely Tommaso has 2 active spells that are actually relevant in this situation. That Jace is going to be just so good.
Ensnaring Bridge, another Fate Seal, and another one left on top. Oh, no. Back to Jace, up to 11, getting so close to that Jace ultimate, which is, of course, backbreaking against so many Tommaso just draws another one off the top.
There's actually no real card that helps him in that situation.
Oh,
so even if
jeez.
there was one card,
Just every time Enevoldson's leaving it on top. Every time.
yeah, there's no.
There's just nothing that's going to help him. Well, here's a
All
Magus
right.
of the Moon.
It's a little too late.
And a
Just
Force of
counter,
Will.
Just pay.
Yeah.
Hard cast.
Just the 5 cost counterspell. Easy. And now Jace Ultimate
Jace,
means
yeah.
that Badiali has to extend the hand. Enevoldson powers on to a straight sets victory over Tommaso Badiali. And his teammate Michael Bonde has also equalized it against Matteo Mora. Things are looking good here for the Danish trio because, of course, if Bonde or Peterson wins one more single game of Magic, that is that all over Red Rover, and we move on to our next round here. Let's have a look at
All right,
Modern
so
now. We've got
that's
Enevoldson versus Campanino.
Power Mine Tower.
And once again, it's Scapeshift versus Tron, and it's going to be
So
a Khan.
He had a card on turn 3, and he had a card on turn 4.
Just eating up those lands. Things not looking good for Andreas Peterson here. Campanino firing on all cylinders, as we've mentioned.
So look at the graveyard. Is there only a card in the graveyard?
Search for
So
tomorrow
do
here.
you
for
know what that
Enevoldson.
means? If there's only a card in the graveyard,
Mm.
that means that turn 1 there was a plant, mine, tower, no fetch, nothing.
Something's been exiled because there is a beast within. So was the Khan?
Yeah, I think it was
Oh, the Khan was
yeah.
beast within.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Campanino continues to go to town on Enevoldson's mana base here.
How good is that feeling?
Just
To just play all
so
3
easy.
lands, all 3 lands.
So easy. And here's an Ancient Stirrings off that sphere.
Why do you even play Ancient Steerings when you can just?
No, you just draw it. I mean, you
Yeah.
wouldn't even. They could shave Ancient Stirrings and put in like actual good cards.
Yeah.
Because just draw Natural Tron every time. And Peterson has seen enough now. Campanino gets up. Oh, and still got all these. Khan number 3 just to rub it in. Campanino, what a class act. And now Peterson.
Destroy all your lands. It could have been a flawless victory.
Well, as it is, 2-1 for Campanino, and it's now down to standard. Matteo Mora versus Michael Bonde. Blue, black versus mono, red. Let's get over and see what's going on there as our players also reconfigure themselves to coming off of their advice. Aethersphere Harvest is going to be a nice one against mono red if it can get the job done. But Peterson, but Bonde's got no way to activate it. The Narncrop Crasher continues to put on
6
pressure.
damage here.
Ragavan flies in and out. Bonde needs to stabilize. He needs to do it quickly.
Erasmus Contempt would be a good start.
Champion of wits in hand here for Bonde. And Aethersphere Harvester, as we said, is a good way to sort of buffer up that that's easy for me to say. Buffer up that life total and put up some blocks.
It's pretty good against the Minotaur, so you can avoid the trigger.
The Uncrosh. Oh my goodness me! I need to take all these marbles out of my mouth before I start doing commentary. Uncrop Crasher.
You kind of sound like me now.
Maybe I'm catching the French off you, mate. Here's a Walking Ballista for 1.
This one can crew the Harvester.
Yeah, so very tidily now that Harvester, even in the face of a single removal spell, can still block. See what Mora has now on his 4th turn.
That was a pretty good turn on Bonde's side.
So let's see what Mora's got to work with here. Now, of course, he will be flanked by both of his teammates, and the outcome of this entire match rests on this game, with Enevoldson winning 2-0 against Badiali and Campanino winning 2-1 against Peterson. Both teams have picked up a match win, so this will be the final piece of the puzzle here to see who can continue through the next round.
So So the stakes of this match, whatever happens, I think the Danes are in.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're in. So if they win, the Italians are out entirely. If the Italians win, they have to at least draw the next one.
So the
So it
stakes,
could
the
be a
stakes are
win-
much higher for the
It's
Italians.
probably a win and end for the Italians,
Mhm.
and not so much at stake for the Danes. But there's still play to make sure 100% they're in and to be first seeded in the top 4, and therefore have a huge advantage in the playoffs.
Mm. Yeah, because they're on the play across
There
all
would
three.
be
Yeah.
on the play in 3 matches. So
Earthshaker Kenra now.
they're not playing for nothing.
Going to keep that walking ballista out of the action with a falter effect. And he's going to ship. Yeah, though.
Yeah,
So the Sphere
that's-
Harvester has done exactly what it should have. Stabilized the board here with Bonda at 10, although, of course, in the face of an oncoming Hazaret, Bonda is still going to have to keep his wits about him. 5 mana. Here's the
Scarab
Scarab
God.
God. All right, here we go.
Things are going.
Now we've got a stew cooking.
Yes.
Scarab God, undisputed king of Standard, of course. This fellow was...
Is it a king or a god?
Sure. I mean, even higher than a king, I would
Okay.
say probably a bit would be a god, for sure. Definitely has had the best time of things in Standard recently. Another Earthshaker Kenra, and no attacks here for Mora. This is not what he wants to be
It's
doing.
not a
at
good
all.
feeling when you're playing mono red and you can't attack.
Bonda's just going to draw. Wants to keep that mana open here. Not looking to invest in some zombie futures just yet.
Now for 4 mana, I can get a 4/4. He could have actually done that during upkeep. During upkeep, he could have retrieved the.
Oh, and
Siphoner.
now getting on the front foot with the Harvester. Going to look to buffer that life total.
Yeah, the walking ballista is a safety net.
Uh-huh.
If something bad happens, he can still shoot one of the Kenras.
Or even in a pinch, take out that Uncrop Crusher.
Oh, yeah, but I think he would probably reanimate the Siphoner instead with the 4 mana.
Yeah. Seems a better investment.
Especially like facing a Magma Spray, for example. He doesn't want to give Matteo the option to kill the ballista in response to adding a counter.
Mora finds that 4th land here. We'll see if he's got anything to do with it. Players seem to be.
He can send
bit
the
of
whole
animated
team
discussion
and
here.
deal like 2 or 3, maybe 2 damage, but and he would be losing a lot of his team.
It's not really where you want to be, huh?
Not exactly, and he might even die on the attack back. So it'd be 4, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15. If he attacks with everything, there's a way he can die next turn.
He's going to have to be very, very careful
So
indeed.
yeah,
Doesn't look like he's going to want to start swinging for the fences just yet here, Teo Mori.
it's unlikely he dies, but he
Could happen.
He could die.
Could happen. Here's 4 mana, and it's going to be Chandra Torch of Defiance here.
All right.
So Planeswalker coming down to try to settle the score a little bit, but no, commit to memory, and this is why Bondo obviously kept that mana up. Chandra gets sent back on the bench.
Still, can he attack?
In
So
face
now
of the
he's
Scarab
not
God
dying
here.
next turn. But still, there's no good attack here. If he attacks with everything and make the Scarab God not block, the Ballista can block the 3/2, kill the Canara, and Bondo would take 3, 4, 5 damage. So that's what's happening.
Here's a Ragavan coming in from that attack from the Kari Zev, but look at this. Moray deciding that it is just
Yeah.
time to shove.
So as predicted, he's going to kill one of the Earthshaker Kinra, and he's going to take 5 damage down to 8.
The Scarab God kept back thanks to the Arncrop Crasher there. Not able to block. But now, Bonda's in a position to turn the screws, untapping once again with the Scarab God. Got plenty of fuel for TSG in the bin. Let's see what he's got to cook with here. 4 mana.
I was not a big fan of the attack of the Harvester here.
Well, it's just 3 mana for
I
Champion
think it
Woods.
was maybe it was good, but I think it was a little greedy here. I
Mhm.
think the 3 life he got from that attack that's the life he wouldn't have lost on the attack back, and
And
he would
Bodner is,
have stabilized his position a lot more.
And Bodner is discarding Fatal Push,
All
which
right.
is a
No, he must be ahead. I can't see his hand. It just looked greedy
Yeah.
from our perspective.
But I mean, when you think about the fact that your opponent is discarding cards like Fatal Push when you're
Yeah.
playing mono red, it's not a good
It
sign.
looks bad. It looks
very
bad. Yeah.
Aethersphere Harvester comes across for another 3. Bonner's going to go up to 11.
The Minotaur is
didn't
not
activate it.
tapping.
Didn't activate? Oh, did. Okay, there we go. Still 1 energy left in the tank thanks to that Ether Hub.
I think he's so far ahead now that
Mm.
it doesn't really matter.
11 life is a lot of life here, and Moray doesn't have too much to say about it. Alone carries Zev and backed up by an Earthshaker Kenra as an exerted Arncrop Crasher
And if he was
catches his breath on the sidelines.
short on energy, he would just be able to bring back one of the Siphoners,
Uh-huh.
get 1 energy right away to activate the Harvester.
And
And
Moray
Matteo,
does
yeah,
not
he-
have anything to say about this with an Arncrop Crasher and an Earthshaker Kenra in hand.
The Italians are probably out, and the Danes are going to play the playoffs for sure, and most likely in first seed.
So almost
I don't think anyone
certainly-
can catch up.
Almost
no,
certainly.
No, they are.
Oh, just certainly.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, I'm gonna retract that almost. Certainly now. The Danes have made it into the top 4, so congratulations to them. An undefeated run so far, which is worth mentioning the fact that they haven't picked up a loss, just a single draw. Wow, really on a tear, these guys, and unfortunately that Italian team. I mean, Ralph, we may see one X3 team sneak
It's
into
possible.
top 4.
It's possible, yeah.
It could happen, but it's unlikely to be this Italian team.
We have to check the standings again. But the Danes have 37 points now,
Mhm.
and they cannot be caught up.
They can't be
So
overtaken.
they will be first.
So that'll be that. There we go. So we'll see those in our top 4. Who else remains to fill out those top 3 slots? Remains to be seen, but of course we will get you across it just as soon as we can. My friends, we've got to go to some ads after this. Of course, more Magic coming your way from GP Madrid, so stick around. We'll see you back here before very much longer.
Celebrate 25 years of Magic with Masters 25. Featuring cards from all 25 years of Magic's history, Masters 25 is filled with the best of the best. With over 30 pieces of new Magic art and a foil card in every booster, make sure to pick up your box on March 16th. Up your game with Ultra Pro Magic the Gathering accessories. Find the best Magic art on card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and more. Visit ultrapro.com to learn more and find a retailer near you.
And welcome back here to the tournament floor at GP Madrid, my friends. We are still well and truly in the thick of things here during MTG Red Zone. It's great to have you along. My name's Riley Nutt. I'm joined by Raphael Levy, the Hall of Famer, and we are going to get underway with some Time Walk Magic before very much longer. Before that, of course, however, we are going to have a look at the decks that people will be playing. And, well, first of all, let's talk about the players. Who have we got in the Time Walk area for our next round, or for our next little bit here?
So I think we have Mengucci, Elcano, Dominguez.
Okay.
Against, I'm not sure.
We've got him on our screen now here. Christoph Green, Ben Jones, and Charles Eliatambi here. And we've seen the Gucci main alongside Christian Calcano and Javier Dominguez already a couple of times on the screen here. Grixis Energy or Grixis Control, Jund and Salto or Bug Delver in the hands of Dominguez there. But their opponents here also Grixis Energy with Christoph Green, Grixis Shadow for Ben Jones, and looks like Eliatambi is playing Eldrazi, a throwback to that the old Eye of Ugin in modern days there, but it's ported across to Legacy very powerfully indeed. We can have a look at what's going on here between Charles Eliatambi and Javier Dominguez. We already talked about the fact that it is, of course, Sultai Delver facing off against Eldrazi here, Raf. And we've seen a lot of Delver decks in the feature match area here, but so why don't we focus on what's going on with this Eldrazi list here? So
the Eldrazi deck has, I think it's 12 lands that can produce 2 mana, Ancient Tomb, Eldrazi Temple, and Eye of Ugin. So it's 11, sorry, because he's only playing 3 of the Eye.
3 eyes. On top of that, actually 2 City of Traders, so a couple more lands to power out these colorless threats.
And so it's 13.
It's 13. 13. Unlucky 13 there, and this is going to power out things like Eldrazi Mimic, as you see, Matter Reshaper, Thought Not Seer, Endless One, Reality Smasher, Endbringer, and then there are some other options like Umezawa's Jitte, which is a nice one, Simiut Spirit Guide to tie this whole broken air conditioner together, and a single Warping Whale as well as another interactive option. But once again, I mean, anyone who was a fan of the modern format a couple of years ago will remember the Eldrazi Winter when we had Eldrazi Temple and Eye of Ugin legal alongside one another in modern. We had ridiculous starts with turn 2 Thought Not Seers, Eldrazi Mimics were copying and attacking for 4 on turn number 2, what have you. It looks like some of that degeneracy has ported to Legacy quite effectively.
Exactly. Yeah, he wants to play turn 2 Thought Not Seer, and with Bolt being the main removal spell in the format, that 4/4 on turn 2 is a threat that it's a dead weight.
Yeah, here's a dead weight for Javier Dominguez. One of the ways for him to power up his Tarmogoyfs by putting an enchantment in the bin.
Yeah, dead weight takes care of Delver.
Deathrite Shaman. Young Pyromancer. It kills a lot of things.
Yeah. And that's
True name Nemesis if they name themselves instead of their opponent.
Yeah, that's unlikely though.
It is unlikely. Here's a Chalice for 1, and this is one of the other reasons to play the Eldrazi deck. Access to Chalice of the Void on 1 shuts out so many decks.
That's what I was saying with the removals, like not being able to kill a 4/4. Dead weight is not killing a 4/4. Fail Push could. Well, it probably will with the fetch land. But the start from Javier is a good one. He's putting a tremendous amount of pressure on Charles with a Flip Delver and a Deathrite Shaman. And the 4/4 on the ground is not going to be able to block this.
And this is critically, of course, after the Chalice for 1 was played. It looks like Dominguez has already had a chance to deploy these threats ahead of time. And now we have a Hymn to Turak, which is going to remove some of these cards. 1 and 2 cards hit the bin. Eye of Ugin and a Wasteland here for Eliatambi. So he'll still have some action in hand. We're going to see an attack for 3. Classic Delver move.
So what's left in Charles' hand is a Matter Reshaper and a Jitte.
Just drawing a Mishra's Factory by the look of things.
And Jitte is going to be very good here. Because with Chalice on the 1, there's not going to be a lot of ways. Javier is going to be able to keep Charles from adding counters on the Jitte.
Matter Reshaper comes down. And Deathrite Shaman pings in for 2. Let's see what Dominguez wants to do here. It's going to be a Baleful Strix.
Good way to deal with a creature on the board.
And now a Wasteland to remove this Eye of Ugin. So this this Eldrazi Temple, this quite significantly knocks back Eliatambi's mana development. Although he can,
Oh,
of
he
course,
drew a land, so he can play the GT and equip thanks to a Spirit Guide, Simeon Spirit Guide.
Okay, here's an Umezawa's Jite. Dominguez doesn't have a response. And Simeon the Spirit Guide, so this is huge here because, of course, putting counters on this Jite is just enormous. And Elliot Tamby's happy to do it at the cost of the Matter Reshaper.
The thing is, Javier is going to kill the Reshaper, and that leaves charge without any creature to equip the GT.
But two charge counters just to begin with is huge in the face.
That's going to deal. That's going to deal with the. Oh, and this
Dismember off the top as well to deal with whatever's left over. So Dominguez exiles another sorcery or an instant here to knock Elliot Tamby down to 10. But Elliot Tamby has the onboard answer to one of these creatures and the in-hand answer to the other.
To activate the Mishra's Factory and equip it, he will need 2 more lands. Oh, 1 more land, sorry.
Him to Turak.
With the Dismember.
Bit of a Raven's Crime here. And Delver down, thanks to the activation of Umezawa's Jite.
Oh, and Wasteland for the Mishra's Factory.
Ooh, nice
So
one.
no attack from this one.
So this means Dominguez can try to ride this
That's a pretty bad one.
Deathrite Shaman to victory here.
Reality Smasher. Just too much. He needs 2 more lands, including one that provides 2 mana.
Elliot Tamby down to 8 now with Deathrite really getting it done. And
So now he needs 1 more.
An Urborg here for Elliot Tamby.
But I think it's going to be too late.
Down to 6. 3 more Deathrite activations will do it. Dominguez holding cards that do basically nothing in Thought Season Brainstorm.
Is it? No, it's not. It's not a creature.
Elliot Tamby ships. Brainstorm is countered by the
But it doesn't
Chalice.
matter. It's a spell. Spell in the graveyard's good enough. So now he needs to attack right away and equip with a creature. He needs a. I don't think this is something that could
Goblin Balloon Brigade.
No, and that doesn't cost 1 because otherwise it would be countered.
Yeah. Well, Goblin Balloon Brigade, mate.
Goblin Balloon Brigade.
Yeah.
No, it's a 1/1 for 1.
Is it a 1 for 2?
No, it's 1 for 1.
Oh, it's 1 for 1. All right,
And
never
that-
mind.
And
Can't
doesn't
cast
have, doesn't have haste.
Thoughtseize now hits the bin. Elliot Tamby down to 2. And a Tarmogoyf. Wasteland is not enough for Elliot Tamby to keep things together, so Dominguez handily wins his first game, and with the magic.
To keep the dream alive after starting with 1/2.
But a movie magic now propels us across to Modern, where we are well and truly underway in a Jund mirror match here.
No, it's Jund against Death Shadow.
Oh, excuse me. A Jund in the hands of Christian Calcano. It looks like we've got GDS from Ben Jones.
Ben Jones on 3 life. What you want to be on when you're playing Death Shadow. Just make sure you don't die.
1 mana,
to
10
lightning
10s.
bolts.
Too bad. So Gurmag Angler in hand for Jones. It looks like that may be the card he's considering playing here.
Is a Death Shadow to go along the fish.
Really looking to come up the ground here.
So
Calcano, of course, is drawing live, however. Plenty of cards for Calcano that are going to get it done.
So he's keeping 2 instants and a creature just to be able to flashback something from thanks to Snapcaster Mage and a Death Shadow, just in case he has a Colligans come in. So 5/5 to hold the fort. Double black Dark Confident. Yep.
So Dark Confident, a nice one for Calcano, considering he is on 13 life. We did see him die to the double Dark Confident in previous rounds. The price of greatness sometimes is a little bit too high. But here now, 4 copies of Lightning Bolt for Calcano, so he's gonna look to snag one of them. Serum Visions. Draw a card, scry 2. See if Jones can finds the tools he needs.
He needs a Death Shadow or something to deal with the Dark Confident.
Well, let's see. 4 cards in hand here for Jones.
Christian now does not want the Angler to attack because that would mean bad news.
What has Jones got here? 1 black mana. It's going to be a fatal push.
That's the first step.
On the Dark Confident. Watery Grave enters tapped and
And
ships back to Calcano, who is
no
attempting
attacks.
to keep up with the Jones here.
Another one.
Another Dark Confident off the top.
Oh, there's a stubborn denial somewhere.
That doesn't do much right now. Thoughts
Milieu.
go here. Kolaghan's command, in addition to that Raging Ravine, hits the graveyard. Why do you
Well,
mill
yeah,
out
that's
Calcano there?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to understand why you would mill your opponent instead of yourself when you play Callaghan's command and Snapcaster Mage.
Very curious.
Because it does play Snapcaster Mage, right?
Almost certainly. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be
well,
a very
that-
odd GDS deck that didn't.
That could be. And if you play Gormak Angler too.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to make any sense. There's obviously something going on there. Snapcaster Mage, a very difficult card not to include as a 4-up. Here's an attack now for Ben Jones.
That's scary. That's very scary.
Calcano must be thinking, what's up? What is up, Doc? Well, what is up is another Fatal Push, and now here's a Death Shadow for 10, as a 10-10 for
so
1.
now he wants to see a Bloodbraid Elves.
Let's see. What can you find?
Bloodbraid would be great against Stubborn Denial.
Calc, what do you got, my dude? Stubborn Denial on the hand of Ben Jones is going to keep the Atmosphere Lightning Bolt proof here.
That's okay. It's not bad.
Tarmogoyf's a big boy. We're going to count it out here. Looks like a 5/6. Instant land creature sorcery
Bigger than
planeswalker.
the fish.
A little bit bigger than that fish. Although it does mean that the Death Shadow is going to force a chump block here from Calcano. Jones sitting pretty behind that Stubborn Denial in hand here.
Still
GDS proving that it's still got what it takes to run with the big dogs.
He's still that to Bloodbraid Elf.
Blocks with BBE here for Calcano. And it's back to the TI-84. What can he find? 2 cards in hand here for the New Yorker. What's he got? Calc with the slow rolls. Come on, fella. Give it to
A
us.
Bloodbraid Elf. And Andre Mengucci gets game 1.
Ooh, Mengucci follows in the footsteps of Javier Dominguez with a game 1 win against Christoph Green. And the dream run for the Gucci main continues. Here's a Tarmogoyf.
Another. Are they 5/6?
And an attack now. Jones forced chump block. And both players just trading chump blocks here. Jones.
So Ben Jones looking for a way to deal with the untapped Tarmogoyf. I think it's a fatal push.
Yep, fatal push
wow.
off the top, and that is going to be enough here for Ben Jones to take out game number 1, avenging the deaths of Christoph Green and Charles Eliatambi here. And we're going to move back over now to our legacy table. Eliatambi going up against Dominguez, and with a Ratchet Bomb out and a Numazawa's Jitte, looks like Eliatambi's already made some commitments to the board, but Dominguez has a Liliana on 6.
But there's a Ratchet Bomb for 2. Can you give me the text of a Ratchet Bomb?
So Ratchet Bomb, you tap and sacrifice and destroy all non-land permanents with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Ratchet Bomb.
So we deal with Liliana.
We'll deal with Liliana next turn. Dominguez, it's unclear. I mean, presumably Liliana's gone to 6 this turn? You would think so. Not immediately clear here as a Deathrite Shaman comes down. No, going upstairs. Okay, and an attack now with Tarmogoyf. So Dominguez with the option there of ultimating Liliana, but instead looks like she may fall victim to the Ratchet Bomb here.
Yeah, I think so.
Eliatambi with the choice of either losing half his permanents or just 1. So seems like a decent choice. Has he shipped? No, he's gonna crack the bomb. Yeah.
So now he needs a creature. He needs a Matter Reshaper would be good. But isn't too much pressure already?
So Dominguez untapping with 2 pretty potent threats here in the form of a Tarmogoyf and a Deathrite Shaman. He's going to look to flick and flack down.
So, that's too late. That's game.
Eliatambi's life total, and that is
Javier
that
takes
there.
Match 1.
Yes, Javier Dominguez wins the entire match there after a straight sets victory against Charles Eliatambi. 2-0. Well done there, the Spaniard getting it done in his home country. Over now to Andrea Mengucci and Christoph Green. Andrea Mengucci, of course, winning game number 1 here. And a Scarab God is going to try to get him across the line in game number 2. This is the Grixis Energy mirror between these two gentlemen here.
I think they are the exact same 75.
Is that right?
At least the main deck seems very similar. I couldn't find the game you play when you're small, and you spot the differences.
Oh yeah, spot the difference.
I couldn't find one.
Well, I can see that Christoph Green is playing 1 copy of Revolutionary Rebuff, which I don't think Mengucci has chosen to include. That's the rubbish mana leak.
Mana Fleek. Well, Sideboard is a little different.
And
The 60 cards in the main deck are the same.
No, there's a revolutionary rebuff in the deck of.
All right. So maybe the 55.
Very
59.
close. Very close indeed. Another Scarab God comes down after Green's first one is exiled thanks to Vraska's Contempt. This matchup seems to be very dependent on who can stick and play with a Scarab God here, and it looks like Christoph Green has that advantage there. But we are going to see a commit now for Mengucci to remove the God from play. Cast off, of course, the Chandra double red activation there.
Vraska's Contempt to deal with the Chandra.
Green just has all the answers here. Answers for days, and that's going to be the end of Chandra's brief appearance there, although she did good work.
So how does Field of Ruins... what does Field of Ruins say?
Well, Field of Ruin...
Is it a May?
Field of Ruin right now would give Mengucci a way to perhaps shuffle those libraries, but it could be the case that...
he just wastelands?
That Green...
Not wasteland, just strip and final land?
It could just be a wasteland effect. Yeah, because... no, it's not a May. They have to.
You have to.
You
Well,
have to
that's actually a really good play here.
Yep. So Mengucci is going to be able to shuffle away the Scarab God, although it doesn't look like he's going to do it. Mengucci.
Oh, no.
No.
So you have to, right? Each player searches.
Yeah, they have to search. They cannot.
So,
they can not choose not to search.
If he loses to Scarab God, then he missed that play.
Well, it's going to be a Whirl of Virtuoso instead, and here is the Scarab God, freshly drawn here for Christoph Green. Mengucci did have the option of shuffling that away because the text of Field of Ruin says each player searches his or her library. So even if they don't get a land out, they still have to shuffle.
So that would have been a very good option for Andrea here.
Harness Lightning, however, means that it'll be taken off the battlefield for at least one more turn.
Oh, but now he wants to do Time Twister, I think.
Okay,
so in a way, he dealt with the Scarab God.
It's a bit more of a roundabout way. He took the scenic route.
Yeah.
But here is the back half of Commit to Memory. It is in fact Memory, which shuffles the graveyard and hands into their respective libraries. And we're going to draw a fresh grip of 7.
So now Andrea's ahead, but with both players with 7 cards in hand.
So both players without too much on the battlefield, just that lonely Whirl of Virtuoso there for Mengucci. But Christoph Green is going to be the one who gets to untap first after this Time Twister effect. And that, for anyone who has played Time Twister back in the day, you'll know that the advantage is given to the person who gets to untap the fresh grip first.
Yeah.
So fresh 7 off the top here.
I played with Days Undoing a couple times in Modern.
Yeah.
And passing the turn 7 cards is
it's kind of bad.
You just hope it's not going to go too bad. But usually it goes pretty bad.
Well, let's see how badly it goes here for Mengucci, the Italian stallion. As we go back to Christoph Green, who cycles away his Canyon Slough and gets stuck in now with his next turn. 8 cards in hand for him. He'll be happy with that.
Look at this rebuff.
Not so good in these later stages of the game, although maybe can still snipe something. Revolutionary rebuff. A powered down Mana Leak. The poor man's Mana Leak there. Only taxing 2 rather than 3. And Green with a lot of options to consider here, I guess, with Elliot Tabby in his ear as well. Duress. Let's see what Mengucci is working with here.
That's a pretty bad hand after Time Twister.
Just all interaction, no gas except for that Glint Sleeve Siphoner here. He's got an Essence Scatter, a Harness Lightning, and a Spruzzo di Magma. Green taking some quick notes here from the back of the classroom, and he's going to get rid of one of these cards as well. Not sure which one he's going to go after. What do you target here?
Probably either Harness Lightning or Essence Scatter.
For a hard eject there. It's going to be the Harness Lightning here. And now, oh dear, has he just drawn the Scarab God as well?
Yeah, I think he drew 2.
Oh no. Oh no.
It never always comes back.
Oh, that Commit to Memory did not do what Mengucci wanted it to do here. Because not only did he not find too much gasoline of his own, he gave Christoph Green a hand that looks pretty terrific, to be honest. Duress into the Scarab God, a great way for Christoph Green to get back onto the board here. Mengucci, I think he just drew a Vraska's Contempt, however.
No, I think he drew a Gonti.
Oh, a Gonti instead, okay. Another 4-cost black card. This time it's going to snag 4 cards off the top of the library here. We'll see what Mengucci is looking at. There is a Vraska's Contempt.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
And we know that Mengucci has lands to cast it.
Yes, he does. Yes, he's got lands to play and, of course, can get rid of that Scarab God very, very quickly and easily as well. So crisis averted here for Andrea Mengucci after that Gonti Lord of Luxury, giving Mengucci the luxury of some breathing room here.
Doomfall.
Doomfall even better. All right. Doesn't require that extra land to be played. Now Mengucci may have a tapped land to put into play here. He does indeed. Canyon Slough, and just for good measure, give you a bit of a pasting with that old Whirl of Virtuoso. Back to Green now, who, it's your understanding, Raph, that he has another Scarab God in hand?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Dear. Oh, dearie me.
Is that one? Yeah, I think so. I think this one.
Always has it. It's about the 5th one that he's cast this game.
How about this guy?
Mengucci can't believe it. And he also has got 4 mana as well. 9 mana in total, so that we will see a reanimation effect if there are any creatures into the graveyard.
No reanimation here.
No creatures for him to target just yet.
No.
All right. Well, Gucci will want to keep his creatures alive for the time being now. Fetid Pool cycled away. What's he looking for here? Another Vraska's Contempt of his own, perhaps. And now we see an Ether Hub. Mengucci kind of scrabbling to keep himself in this one here after having won the first game. It looks like Ben Jones and Javier Dominguez here have settled the account on the back tables. So it's all down to Mengucci versus Christoph Green here. This will determine who stays and who goes as we head closer and closer towards our top 4 here at GP Madrid. The format, of course, Team Trios. It's great to have your company as we explore these 3 formats throughout the weekend here from Spain. Thanks for sticking with us so far, and we look forward to have your company throughout the top 4 as well, which will be coming your way before very much longer.
So I'm tapping with 10 mana with the Scarab God.
Yeah.
And 4 cards in hand.
Not a bad way to live your life. Not a bad way to live your life at all. There you are.
So rebuff, that does pretty much nothing here. Well, it could counter Vraska's Contempt right now, but I think he would have played it on his turn. I think Andrea would have played it on his turn.
So Mengucci will be able to start drawing some extra cards with his Glennsleeve Siphoner if Green has nothing to say about it here.
But I think he has a Vraska's Contempt. That's when exiling a creature is a little worse than just destroying it.
Yeah, I think he would rather just
back.
a straight-up murder here, wouldn't he?
Or Befoul for 4 mana.
Here is Vraska's Contempt on the Glennsleeve Siphoner. Green looking to shut that door on Mengucci.
Rebuff. Commit to memory and another land.
Mengucci finds another Ether Hub here. His hand's still not looking too great. He's got a copy of Essence Scatter and Magma Spray in it. Anything else for the young Italian master? No. He sends it shipping back to Green.
As long as there's no creature in the... Is that another Scarab God? Wow, that's...
It's pretty disgusting.
He's... Wow, that's actually great. He's offering the trade, the Scarab God, for the Gonti. So when he plays the second Scarab God, he has a Gonti to reanimate.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. That's pretty gross here. Mengucci with the option of just taking 5. He can, of course, get rid of that Scarab God. But it will mean that Green, if he does have that second God in hand, will gain immediate value off of the Lord of Luxury.
I'm pretty sure that's what he drew. Because what else can you draw? Scarab God, of course.
Just always draw Scarab God.
Yeah,
that's
always
the answer.
draw them.
That's the key to the standard
the first
format.
one is gone, there's always another one. You don't know where it comes from, but it's always there.
I think Green has managed to find all 3 copies that he's playing here. Oh no, he's playing 4. He's playing 4.
So in the meantime, Ben Jones won. Have we mentioned that?
Yes. It all does indeed come down to this game here with Andrea Mengucci. Looks like this Spruzzo di Magma, this Magma Spray, is looking for a way to exile the Scarab God once and for all.
So that's going to mess with Christoph's plans here. because if the Scarab God dies on that turn, he will be exiled.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he has another one, he wants to protect it.
So the Magma Spray seems to have resolved here. No?
No, he
No,
can't.
no. Okay. Green's still thinking about it. Menguchi's hands seem to tell a different story, but no. Okay, away goes the Magma Spray. And
Yeah, I
Commit to
guess-
Memory hits the bin
yeah.
as well.
Okay.
So a block with the Gonti Lord of Luxury, and this is not going to pan out the way that Menguchi would like it to here. Because that's now another creature in the bin here.
Yeah, I think I would just play it.
Play the second god.
Yeah. There's no
Alright.
reason not to. I mean, Menguchi will have to...
He's got an Essence Scatter in hand here, Menguchi.
yeah. And now if you don't miss the trigger, you have another one back up, so... And now if you Menguchi, like, okay, you just talk straight to your opponent with your, like, eyes straight into his eyes and just draw, and the trigger has been forgotten. That's how you do it.
Christoph Green has forgotten the trigger to bring back the Scarab God there.
That's what I was talking about.
So walk us through that again.
So the way that's a little tricky, but when triggers are like on the like are pending,
Yeah.
the best way to make your opponent forget about them is to make them like lose focus. That's basically the tricks the magicians are
The
using.
Jedi mind
No,
trick.
you just like you make them lose focus on what they should be focusing on.
Misdirection.
Yeah, you like okay, wait, how many cards and right away you change pace. Okay, are you done? And you untap and you draw.
I don't like the sound of that.
But no, it's not. The trigger is still there. If he
I still don't like it.
If he remembers,
Sure, but I
he
still
will
don't
get
like.
it.
I still don't like it.
Okay,
I think that borders on unsportsmanship.
this is not exactly unsportsmanship.
I think it's close to it. I don't like it.
Okay.
Scarab God comes down now, and a Harness Lightning targeting the third Scarab God here for Christoph Green.
And this one is gonna come back. Should come back.
Yeah, well, hopefully Green doesn't fall for the same. Oh no, he brought back the second. He brought back the one that was killed the last turn. I mean, obviously functionally the same. It's just funny that he brought back the one that he forgot to bring back last time. Not a delayed trigger, mate. Doesn't last that long. So Green now. Scarab God in hand for him. Menguchi has played it. We'll see if Green wants to commit this to this Scarab God to the board here. Hamstringing himself a little bit by having forgotten that trigger because Menguchi does still have the Essence Scatter in hand. We saw that with the duress turns and turns ago.
So think about it. It is sportsmanship. That's what I did with the not mandatory triggers.
Non-mandatory triggers.
Yeah.
Well, no matter your perspective on it, it certainly put Menguchi in a much better position than he would have been otherwise.
So now what can happen is that he can bring back one of his Scarab gods, and bring it back at the end of put the trigger back in play pretty
Sure.
much.
So and then
So he has two Scarab gods in play. One of them dies, and then he can bring it back to hand.
and then he's going to ride on the token one,
Yeah.
sure, because the other one will be exiled. Oh well, doesn't matter. Look, any way you
Okay,
slice it,
yeah.
Christoph Green, he's got one on the battlefield. Menguchi is going to reanimate his Gonti, and that is going to be enough here for him to draw an extra card off the top of Green's library. He's going to get his pick of the bunch here, top 4. He can take whichever one he likes. And Gucci consults the graveyard, the exile zone, command zone, scrapyard zone, before selecting a card now. Nice little value play, in addition to, of course, the card. He's got a 4/4 Death Toucher, which is no joke. And here's a Harness Lightning on Menguchi's Scarab God, and he's of course tapped out, so he's got very little to say about this. Scarab God hits the bin. Let's see if Menguchi is going to keep it about. Well, no, it's going to be exiled straight away to Christoph Green's Scarab God. And of course, that just means that it goes away for good.
This is becoming a mess here, with all the tap lands, the graveyards.
Back to Mengucci here, who's running a tight ship, I have to say, with his permanent placement. In contrast to Christoph Green.
This is confusing on the Christoph side.
Oh yeah, he's a messy boy. So let's see what continues here with a Glimmer of Genius now, and then Mengucci going to draw 2. A Glimmer of Genius coming off of the Gonti there. So 2 more energy, 2 more cards. Nice one here.
Is Andrea going to find a way to deal with that Scarab God?
He's got a lot of mana, got a lot of energy. What can he find? Because again, all this game has come down to is who can eke the most value out of the Scarab God, and Christoph Green has been the one to do it so far. Mengucci in attack for 5 now. Both players at a pretty high life total.
Oh, so Scarab God is exiled this time. With he knew about that Magma Spray, right?
No, that was the one that was put back in the library. Yeah, yep. So away goes the Scarab God once and for all. Although
there's probably another one.
There's probably another one. Christoph Green is playing about 7 of them, it seems. He's got one in hand here.
Because other 3 Scarab Gods exiled.
And he's got one in hand. Gonti here. 4 cards off the top from Mengucci's library. Selects one of them, and the rest go packing. So let's have a look what Green is going to hustle and bustle with here. It's going to be another Scarab God.
And here we go. Scarab number...
I think it's the 5th.
5th? Only 5th? Oh, wow.
The revolutionary rebuff actually finally does something.
Finally was online.
Quite incredible. Quite incredible here. So here is the Scarab God.
The one and only.
The one and only out of all the 5 or 6 that we've seen. It's the one and only, Raf. So Mengucci now, once again, under a lot of pressure here. And it's going to be a Doomfall.
Gonti's going to die.
And an attack now across for 3. Of course, no blocks on that Glennsleeve Siphoner, given the fact that it has Menace. Mengucci finally hellbent as well. He needs to really rip something special. That Whirl of Virtuoso has done next to nothing all game.
It's just sitting there.
Just hanging out, just enjoying the view.
It attacked for 2 once.
I think it did that. Didn't do too much else.
Now
here.
with untapping mana, it's going to reanimate 3 creatures, and there are creatures in the graveyards, right? We can't see.
Well, no, the sloppy apple pie that is on Christoph Green's
that doesn't have
here.
one. But on Andrea's side, there must be some creatures there.
Well, the Gonti was exiled.
Let's see.
We don't know what else is. We're going to be able to have a look here, but I don't think there are any creatures
not.
at all.
Maybe not. Okay, well, just a 5/5.
Just a 5/5.
It's only a 5/5.
Just a 5/5. In it comes. Mengucci down to 16 now.
Oh, and what's the card?
Both players hellbent. What's on top of the library? Let's go.
Now what's the?
Oh, he's got a card for
from
Gonti.
Yeah.
Yep, sure. Not quite hellbent. Close to it though. 1 card off the top. It's a Vraska's Contempt here for Mengucci. In addition to another card thanks to that Glennsleeve Siphoner. So Mengucci loses a life, draws 2 here for the turn. Another Whirl of Virtuoso keeps the energy flowing for him.
That's good news for Mengucci.
But a Jace's Jace's defeat means that this Vraska's Contempt removes another copy of the Scarab God.
Is he going to join? Is he going to join another one?
Green only has 1 left in his library. Mengucci now starts to twist the knife. In come the clowns for 5 damage. What has Green got here? Off the top, Scarab God.
No, he's going to. Does he have a
Harness Lightning?
Does he have a commit memory in this graveyard?
I think he does. Yeah, he cast the commit on the Spruzzo di Magma, the Magma Spray before, and it's going to be Harness Lightning on the on our good friend Glennsleeve Siphoner here. So
and let's do the Time Twister again.
Let's do the Time Twister one more time. So all those cards being shuffled away.
There's not a lot of Scarab Gods left in the.
No, I think there's
deck.
only one. There's only one left in Christoph's deck, and Andrea Mengucci, on the other hand, he does have 4 in his main deck too. You'd imagine that all of them would be brought to bear in this matchup. Seems to be all about that Scarab God. So 7 cards off the top for both players here. Christoph Green, clean your room, buddy. He's got 3 mana untapped by the look of things. Unable to deploy that Chandra in hand. Here's the 4th one, so that could change things on that front at least. But even Chandra here in this spot doesn't do a huge amount. And as we head towards our next round, we're going to speed things up a little bit here, of course, with Time Walk Magic. Whoa, okay, off to the races. Here they go. An attack here for Andrea Mengucci. Christoph Green down to 9. Harness Lightning targets that Wheel of Virtuoso. Away it goes. A Supreme Wheel on Impulse mode. 4 cards off the top. Confiscation Coup amongst them.
Do you have to talk as fast as well?
I'm going to try. Do my very best.
And that's this counter.
I sound like a horse. I sound like a horse race caller here. Chandra Torch Defiance going to get rid of that Thopter with a Flame Slash. Here is Vraska's Contempt exiling the Chandra. A Chandra of Mengucci's own comes back for 4 mana. Upstairs, 2 damage up top for
I can't keep up, I'm sorry.
Christoph Green. A Torrential Gearhulk comes down, end step, going to flashback something here. Maybe another Vraska's Contempt take care of that Chandra. No, it's going to be a Supreme Will instead. So Torrential Gearhulk comes down, however, to counter that one there with an Essence Scatter flashback. Mengucci up to 21 now. Christoph Green down to 7. Harness Lightning on the Torrential Gearhulk gets rid of that. We've still got Chandra Torch Defiance alive and kicking. Duress reveals 3 lands. Mengucci with nothing to do. 4 mana, another Chandra comes down. 5 damage redirected to the opposing Chandra down to 3. There's a lot of cards here for Mengucci's from Mengucci's library as Gonti Lord of Luxury comes down. It's a Vraska's Contempt, another one here on that.
This is a crazy game.
On that Chandra Torch of Defiance.
And now it's Chandra and Gonti against pretty much nothing.
Scarab God Act 1 is finished. Another Duress reveals nothing in Andrea Mengucci's hand. All of a sudden, Christoph Green going to ride this Chandra to victory if he can. 2 cards in hand. She goes upstairs once again to 7. Very close here with Mengucci. Half his library is on the table in the form of his lands. As we see in a Chandra Ultimate here, this means that every spell is going to deal 5. A Glimmer of Genius for Mengucci. Can he find what he needs to push through that final 9 points of damage?
He needs 4 spells.
1 spell, a Canyon Slough here. He's got a Doomfall now. Confiscation Coup hits the bin. 5 damage down to 12 for Mengucci. All those lands, all dressed up but nowhere to go. Can't do anything. This emblem is going to be enough here, you would think. A Glint Sleeve Siphoner down to 7. Harness Lightning for Mengucci. Christoph Green on 9, Mengucci on 7. All of a sudden, this Chandra emblem looks to completely overtake the game. It is a Vraska's Contempt here for Christoph Green.
Oh, that's a target.
And that is a target for the Vraska's Contempt here, which is going to mean that in response, we are going to see another Vraska's Contempt. Mengucci knocked down to negative life, and that is enough. And ladies and gentlemen, I have very bad news for you. We don't have time to show game number 3 because it's time for us to get to round 14. Raf and I are going to step out the booth. Moraine and Tim are going to come in. And, of course, to announce the result of that match, Christoph Green did manage to win game number 3. So Mengucci, Calcano, and Javier Dominguez unfortunately bow out at X and 3. Their opponents, however, continue to tussle for that top 4 position. My friends, we're going to go to a break, but on the other side of it, we'll be joined, of course, by Tim and Moraine to close out the Swiss portion of this tournament. You're not going to want to miss it, my friends. But, of course, it's going to happen after these ads. Stick around. We'll be back before very much longer.
Check out Rivals and Ixalan Booster Draft Leagues on Magic Online. Draft anytime, play anytime. Available now. For more information, visit mtgo.com.